cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the.
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do you want to lose your league?
Our league. Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
And best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right cause I roll my sleeves.
What up? What up? What up, world? Welcome to the Get Right Fantasy Network. I'm Mike Herrick, aka Classic Mike, and tonight I'm here with my good buddy Kendall from the Fantasy Football Tavern. What's going on, man?
Hey, another happy Friday. Let's talk some football.
Oh, excited, man. I'm excited. I know you're all thinking right now, why the hell are they here at 9 o'clock? Aren't they normally here at 11? Don't worry, we're going to get into that in just 1 second. Last night, we started off week 2 with the Bills at the Dolphins. We're going to go over that real quick. We're going to give our quick reactions in just a minute. First, just a quick breakdown of tonight's show. Tonight, we will be breaking down 7 games on the Sunday slate, as well as we're going to be giving you guys one prop from each game we both like from Underdog. So make sure you guys check that out. It's also going to be including this prop bet right here. Well, sorry, right here. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Make sure you guys use the promo code GETRIGHT, and not only will you receive half your deposit match, now up to $1,000 bonus cash, they will make sure that you guys get this particular prop as well. So make sure you guys are getting in there. We're going to be going over pick'ems. Get in there. Great site. All right. So then we're going to also have live Q&A at the very end of the show. So make sure you guys drop your questions in the chat now, and we will get to them at the very end. Just a friendly reminder to make sure you guys let us know the format of the league that you guys are being in: full, half, standard, PPR, tight end premium, anything that you guys are doing. Make sure you guys tell us what it is as well so that we can better help you. If you see one that goes up with the game that we're discussing, we might bring it up. You never know. If we see it and it really helps with our conversation, we're going to bring it up. Also, we have super chats available as well. So if you want us to shut down the show and answer your question, throw us a super chat. It'll help the channel. And also, just great to have. So we really do appreciate it. Also, make sure you guys are checking out our particular schedule right here. This schedule is going to be what we have for the rest of the season. We are here 7 days a week. We are here Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. We have 2 shows. That's why we are here at 9 o'clock. Me and my buddy Kendall over there is going to be – I'm so used to being on that side. You know what? Just for that. Boom. So basically on Fridays, it's going to be me and Kendall. We're going to be here giving you your start sit decisions. And then on top of that, we're going to have Rasta and Phil. They're going to be on at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So make sure you guys check them out right after our show, and they will give you the rest of the Sunday slate. Did this to help us out a little bit. Also, we're going to be back here on Sunday. I'm going to be here on Sunday morning doing our, last minute start sit stuff, as well as actives and inactives and casual, some casual DFS stuff. So if you guys are interested, make sure you guys check us out. It's at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys check that out. After all the Sunday games, we're going to be back here on Monday going through overreactions, waiver wires, the whole deal. Then we got Tycoon. He's going to be on Tuesday with the Fantasy Boardroom. Then Rasta and Frank are back giving you guys roster or Rasta management and trade talk show discussing buy sell targets and players to hold. So make sure you guys check that out. And then on Thursday, prior to the Thursday night game, we got our boy Phil Ruskin going through the extra point leading up to Thursday night football. Man, we have a jam-packed schedule. Make sure you guys check it out below. It's right there. I'm not going to reiterate it anymore. I'm sorry. I already held you guys up. Now let's break down the good, the bad, and the ugly from Thursday night show. Bills victory versus the Dolphins, 31-10. This happened in Miami. It was brutal. It was brutal. Look at this. We got everybody in the chat right now. We got Ant in the house. Albert never misses a show. Love having you, brother. Thank you for coming. Man, just loving this right here. So we're going to go over the good, the bad, the ugly real quick. So let's start with the good. We all saw the game last night, 31-10. I mean, the good was A-Chain and James Cook. They had wonderful nights. We got to see what James Cook can do when he gets in the end zone. Cook is already half of last year's season touchdown total with 3 in this particular game. Freaking awesome. 165 total yards and a touchdown for HN as well. You know, this is his first game with more than 20 touches, which is fantastic. He also came in hurt and a game-time decision with his ankle. Shakir was involved a little bit more. He was the target leader this week. 5 receptions on 5 targets for 54 yards. Bills defense was on fire too. We saw a great exchange, 3 interceptions and 1 TD, 1 for a TD. John Smith was involved. We had a lot going on. Anything that you noticed, Kendall, from last night's game that was really good for fantasy owners?
Yeah, that Devin Achane is going to be a league winner, and he doesn't need to average 7 yards a carry. I mean, if that was absolutely ridiculous usage, just seeing that he's a main focal point of the offense without that crazy efficiency, a lot of like Austin Eckler-esque dump offs where, I mean, I forget what he was, 7 for 7, 7 or 8 or something ridiculous like that.
Oh, yeah.
But he did not break off anything crazy that made you, be like, oh, from last year. But it was just a lot of 5 and 10 yard, 12 yard here and there, just super involved, going to be a PPR nightmare. The big worry with him was if he doesn't break off something crazy, could he disappoint? And I think those fears are alleviated. He is an elite locked in running back 1.
I love it. I love it. Yes, he was 7 for 7 for 69 yards and a touchdown.
Nice.
He had a game. That's fantastic. His longest, I mean, I was a little under on him, not going to lie. It was injury history, size, the whole deal. Kind of, I fell off that. I figured he might not be able to last the whole season. He didn't really do much, with that. Well, he did a lot with a little last year. So I'm definitely behind on that. And you know what? I'm wrong. It's okay. We're allowed to be wrong sometimes. Next, we're going to be talking about the bad. Now, the bad in this game, it wasn't crazy bad, but we, lower than normal. We had Josh Allen. He was mediocre at best. His rushing was held back. He only had 2 attempts, 10 yards total. He had his middle 2 fingers taped up on his left hand. I don't know if you guys noticed that at the very end of the game, he was at the booth and you could see his hand when he was like talking, taped up the middle 2. So maybe maybe he has a broken finger. That's my assumption. He played through it. I mean, the guy's a beast. I mean, it's just how it is. So he's going to play, but the team told him, you got to kind of pull back the rushing a little bit. We're going to do what we can to help you out. Not good for Josh Allen owners, but we'll see what happens moving forward. Hill and Waddle had a low producing night, 3 receptions on 6 targets for 24 yards for Hill. 4 for 41 for Waddle. I mean, that's going to lead us into our ugly, but was there anything middling in that particular game that you saw there, Kendall?
On the pass catcher side of things, Keon Coleman probably a little bit of a buy low right now. Like most rookies, he's going to start slow. But I loved his. I think he had an 82% snap share, something pretty ridiculous for a rookie. He's going to be on the field a lot. when they hit more negative game scripts, when teams have to respect the run, which they do now in a little bit of a different way, when they have to spy the backfield because of what James Cook can do out there, I think it is going to free him up to do a lot more magic. He just wasn't needed. So he's a little bit of a buy low candidate. Hard to take anything else away with how low the passing volume was and how 75% of the game wasn't really football. So I'm not going to overreact to anything. I do have some pretty big alarm bells for Waddle's big upside. I think Tyreek has a next level ability to catch these 80-yard, runaways. And sure. I see Waddle as definitely moving down my board a little bit in his usage. A lot of his rookie year, a lot of those that PPR nightmare stuff he was doing, where he was just catching a lot of shorter slants, similar to what Devonta Smith does. I feel like a lot of those plays are actually getting schemed up a little more for HN, and I think that is directly affecting Waddle a little bit. So again, I'm not going to overreact to it, but I mean, clearly, Miami as a whole taking a little bit of a hit there. Buffalo should be an interesting team to watch, though. Allen probably not going to be QB1.
Okay. How are you feeling about Dalton Kincaid?
Team clearly wants to get him involved, right? The 2 passes right away. Game script went a completely different direction, but from a coaching standpoint, right? The first couple of drives are completely schemed up. It's a walkthrough in practice. So this tells me the coaching staff wants to get him going. They see him being valuable later on in the season. They want to see what he can do, what he can't do, what he needs to work on. So it wasn't accidental targets. The fact they were schemed up early gives me a lot of encouragement for later on in the season. So I'm definitely still wheels up for Kincaid. There's just going to be some game scripts where he's just not needed. They didn't need to pass in the red zone. Encouraging sign, even though the points maybe lacked a little bit.
All right, fair enough. So we're going to get into the ugly. We're going to go very quickly about it. The biggest one, of course, was Tua. He was ruled out with a concussion. We hope that his family and himself is doing okay. I know it was really tough to see. We're all praying for him and hoping he has a quick recovery, of course. Realistically, I don't see anything happening until after week 6. I think they're going to kind of hold him back a little bit, but we'll see. The next was, on the Bills side of the ball, we had Keon Coleman. 1 target. It's a shame. He did lead the team last week. Seemed to do pretty well overall. So this was a little bit disheartening, in my opinion. But anything that you saw that was really ugly other than those things?
The ugly stuff, I'm just not going to overreact to be honest. I'm not really overreacting to the Keon Coleman thing. Curtis Samuel's snap share being, I think, like 29% or something crazy. I'm looking at snap shares in this game. Keon up in the 80s, Samuel down. So I think any chance that Samuel was maybe going to be a 1 or be heavily involved, I think that's probably fallen away from me a little bit. So I'm just looking at the snap share. I think that's going to tell the story of what the rest of the season will. So arrows down for Samuel. I'm still staying on Coleman. I started him in a couple of places just because I was riding the wave. It was a mistake, and I knew it almost immediately. But we all thought it was going to be a fireworks show. And I think in fireworks shows, if it played out that way, I think he would have been a good play. So it was very hard to watch in that perspective. To be fair, I was kind of hoping for it. But the one thing that I'm happy about is that I was right on the concept of Curtis Samuel. That was the big thing I was on. I did not see the number 1 that everyone else did. It's definitely between Shakir and Coleman. I think it's a little bit more. Game script had a lot to do with this one, of course. But to be fair, James Cook took over that game for the Bills, and that's what we want to see. That's, that's what I want to see, because I've been talking up James Cook all year long. All right, boys and girls, we are going to move right into our start sit. Since we have a couple of questions in the chat, I'm going to get to them right now, but make sure you guys throw your other start sit questions in the chat, and we will get to them at the very, very end. If you have anything that is immediate, make sure you guys are using that super chat, and we will get it right. We will stop the show
and go right to your question. So make sure you guys are
Gotta
doing
support
that.
the beer fund over here.
Yeah,
we
there you
need it
go.
in this economy. Come on now.
We got Y Prime in the house. What's going on, man? So we got Jay Bells. He goes, do you guys think that the Bengals lull was because they knew they had to play the Chiefs? I don't think so. I don't think that had anything to really do with it. I think it was just, a lot of easy, not really having.
That was actually a practice.
Yeah.
That was the first practice they've had all year.
Yeah.
And that's why it looked bad. It wasn't even a game for them.
No. And honestly, I mean, if you look at the snap shares and stuff, I mean, Chase actually played a pretty decent amount in that game. He played 43 snaps. I mean, and he was second in on the team other than, Yoshivas. So for me, I don't think it was much else other than just, this was week 4 of the preseason. They just got a couple weeks to kind of get it going. I think it's going to take time. We don't get a lot of data until week 4, because it's after we need to see at least 3 solid weeks of everything. So we'll wait and see. Stephen Robert Beletsky. I'm sorry, I butcher names unless you're Steve. Yeah, there you go. Steve, I know. Anyway, we got half PPR. I just traded Christian Kirk and Dallas Goedert for Sam Laporta. You think I won? I think you did.
Yeah.
What about
Remember,
you?
in redraft, when you're doing 2 for 1, take the top player on waivers, add them to the Laporta side. I think there's still a lot of dart throws. This could easily be Christian Kirk and Goddard for Laporta and Polk or Mooney. That's really what the trade actually is. So when you look at it that way, it's a pretty clear win. Nicely done.
Okay. Rasta agrees with you guys. And if you see Rasta in the chat, he's going to be there helping us out, answering questions if you need it. Like I said, we're going to get to all your questions at the very end, unless it has something to do with the game that we are going to be discussing. So make sure you guys throw all your questions in the chat and we will get to them at the very end. I promise. We will not miss any of your questions. All right. First, we're going to be starting with the start sit for the Chargers versus the Panthers. It looks like the Chargers are favored by 5. The over-under is 41.5. Wow. So, of course, we got some guys that you must start. Of course, you're going to be starting J.K. Dobbins. He had a wonderful game last week against Carolina, or not against Carolina. Against the Raiders. Then we have Justin Herbert, Joshua Palmer. I think those 3 guys are starts. Any other guys that you can think of?
I'm probably throwing Ladd in there as a flex play. I'm pretty happy with.
Okay, I like it. For must sits, I mean, honestly, it's everybody on the Panthers. There's no one I like here. Young, Deontay, Herbert. It's unfortunate. I love Deontay, but unfortunately, unless it's a full PPR and you really have nobody else there, he's really not worth playing. So let's talk about this game a little bit. Who can we trust? Well, actually, let's kind of lead into that Panthers offense a little bit. Is there anybody else you can trust? Is there anybody that is there that is worth playing in this particular game? Is Chuba even worth a start?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think for me, I'm not starting any of them. And as much as it pains me, a lot of us were on Deontay.
Me too.
I'm not starting any of them until I see something. I don't see any upside in the play, and there's going to be a flex I can talk myself into. Every league I have Deontay personally, I've found some semblance of upside. And for right now, especially with the splits between Chuba and Miles, he's not the bell cow that we thought he was going to be. He's not startable in this matchup with the Chargers defense finally looking good. I think coaching is probably playing a big role into that. So no, I'm not touching. It's not that I won't later on in the season, but I got to see it first. Maybe give Canales a little bit of time over there, but it's a no in week 2 for me across the board.
Yeah. I think we all thought, the same exact thing. We saw, good production from him at the end of the season last year and thought maybe it could lead into this year, and it just hasn't. Deontay, I definitely thought could help out Young a lot more, but unfortunately it's not. So let's lead into the Chargers now. We have this back, this wide receiver core. We've had a couple, we've had at least one game to kind of get an idea of what it looks like. We already kind of saw what the running game is going to look like. Very heavy. We saw a lot of, Gus Edwards. We saw a lot of J.K. Dobbins. So we kind of have an idea of what that's going. You can go either way on those two. But in this case, let's talk about the wide receivers. Quentin Johnston, Ladd. We got Joshua Palmer. GJ Chark's out of there for a little bit. So who's the main guy here? Who's the number one that you see for this offense?
Palmer seems to be operating as the one. He's playing the X role. I do see that defenses are putting the top corner on him. It was a situation for me. It reminded me a lot of how he's a good 2, but when playing as the 1, I think he's outmatched a little bit, and I think it was difficult. I think it's probably going to be difficult for him. I could say the same thing about Ladd, where I think Ladd ended up leading in targets and catches, specifically because he was getting played a little softer. He has a role where he can kind of find space in the middle of the field a little bit, and so I think he has the kind of the benefit of what like Juju had with Antonio Brown, where he was a really good 2 because he got so many mismatches, was able to really make some things happen. So I think that's going to give Ladd a pretty good bump. I think it's going to level out a little bit. I still like Palmer quite a bit. I think other teams just decided, look, the rookie doesn't know the playbook yet. Palmer's probably the only one that's done anything. I actively hope they throw the ball to Quentin Johnston. I mean, he could very easily become an ally to the other team with how many drops he has. So I like Ladd. I'm starting Ladd in a few places where I need an upside flex. I'm still playing Palmer. I'm trying to find some other plays. I would like to see a little bit more on the field, but I think Palmer's still going to have a fine season. When teams decide to take a player away, they decide to take a player away, and the game script didn't mean that it threw the ball too much.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that for this type of game. 41 and a half over under is a little low for me to really want to be invested in this particular game. But I do like Ladd overall. I mean, getting 7 targets and 5 receptions of those. I mean, that's not bad at all. He didn't get a lot of yardage, but he did get the touchdown. So it's promising. So we'll wait and see how this offense kind of, works itself out. So me and Kendall are also going to be giving you guys one prop from our good buddies over there at Underdog. We want to give you guys an idea of what we're going to be betting on this week. And for me, it's J.K. Dobbins, and I'm going to be going higher than 1.5 receptions. They have him at 1.5 receptions. He had 3 last game. He had 3. Now, I know that they're going to probably be up. Game script is going to probably be on the other side of things, but they still involved him in the game. This game against the Raiders overall was a blowout, and they still had that type of number. I think they're going to start off a little bit, they're going to have a rough start, and then they're going to probably do well and coast through the whole game. So honestly, I like this a lot. It's a great number to pick from. Kendall, what's yours?
I think that one actually was so good it got bet up a little bit. It's at 2 now.
Oh, it's at 2 now?
Yeah, it's at 2 now.
Well, then I'm glad I got it at 1.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you got your money at 1.5. When I checked to look at our show sheet, I'm like, oh, that's 1.5 is so good. Like 2 is I think the actual number it should have started at to begin with. 1.5 seems kind of free. So nice free square there for those that got a good number.
Sure.
So I mean, I got 2 here. I got a little bonus one here. Because I got a Dobbins bet as well. I'm just taking the 55, the higher than 55 rushing yards. Even if I don't need to know. The reason I'm going yards is I don't really know how the splits are going to go. I don't think they want to run him into the ground with his injury history. But seeing the explosiveness and burst, I still think he can probably at least break one decent one off. Or if he breaks a 20-25 yarder off, the rest of the carries are just going to get him over the hump. I feel like it's going to be a ridiculously positive game script where there's no way he leaves with less than 10 to 12 rushes. And I just think he gets there. Averaging, 4.2 a carry with one big rip. I think he's going to be just fine. The sneaky one that I think is not quite a free square, but I like it is Xavier Legette, higher than 19.5 receiving yards. Okay. I think with his prototype where he can play in the field, that's one catch for him in a lot of circumstances. And with such a negative game script, they're going to want to get the rookie a little more involved. So if the game goes as lopsided as it should, I think they're going to feature him in the fourth quarter just to see what he's got, get him some development. And I think it's nearly a free square because 19, that's 1 to 2 catches. It's just not asking a lot for a guy that just had 7 targets.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. You guys, make sure you guys check out those particular props. Next, we're going to move right along and we're going to get into the Buccaneers at the Lions. This game, it's going to be the Lions who are favored by 7.5. The over under is 51. This is the highest over under, this is the highest over under total on the week. This is the biggest game for, the week. Must starts. You pretty much have to start everyone, to be fair. I mean, I don't even know who
I'm to watch.
Yeah, this game is going to be fun to watch. There's really not many other people that you're going to sit. You're playing Baker, Godwin, Evans, White, Goff, Monty, Gibbs, Laporta, Jameson Williams. He's questionable with a knee injury. If he's good to go, you're playing him. I think if anything, the sits in this particular case, Bucky Irving, I think can maybe be in that sit, category. Maybe Caden Auden. These are guys that probably aren't going to do as well as you might think, but I do think that everybody else in this particular game can do quite well. Am I off by that, or?
No, I mean, in your like 14 teamers and your crazy 16 teamers, I mean, I think Irving is kind of interesting, right? But no, I mean, I think this has the clearest, like, you're starting all of your absolute, you drafted him to start him and you're starting him. Nothing else is interesting. Williams is maybe most people probably didn't start Jameson Williams in week 1 unless it was like a 2 flex league, something along those lines. Or you're you. Well, I mean, that game was supposed to be pretty fireworky anyway. So, but I think he's a must start going forward. I don't think there's a ton to say. I'm very off the lightning in a bottle type of situation. The way he's being used is, I think, very consistent. I think this is very repeatable.
Well, I was going to ask, that was my next question. You actually went right into it. I mean, you see this being a huge role moving forward. He is the solid wide receiver too. I think if anything, it takes away a little bit from Laporta. Yeah,
I mean, I think that the bigger take is I didn't draft Laporta anywhere, just thinking that I think his 10 touchdowns easily come to 5 or 6 because a lot's going to JMO. And I think ASB, unfortunately, becomes a very, very large decoy where he was a little under the radar last year. And now JMO is sometimes the one that can get schemed for some pretty massive plays. In the playoffs last year, I remember they used him on some jet sweep type of stuff. Yeah. We saw that be very effective with Xavier Worthy in week 1. I can definitely see, because the jet sweeps plus the ability to do these deep crossers, I think the combination of that is pretty elite. That was a type of play that I think Laporta was eating on big last year. And I think a little bit that's going to Javonte. I think everyone's going to eat. But for me, he moves from the flex category to a must start for me across the board.
Oh, 100%. For me, not draft. I didn't draft a ton of Laporta, but that's because I had him in a lot of dynasty and keeper formats. But at the end of the day, I honestly, even if I were to draft a new team or a startup, the price that I'm paying for him was way too high. So I'm happy that I was able to get him at a incredibly deep discount from last year. But I am still a little bit nervous about Jameson taking over that role, when it comes to Laporta. But overall, I'm really happy with Jameson, what he was able to do in last week's game. I mean, it's incredible. It really is. And you can see what he gets from having a full season with the team, full off season with the team, full, ability to get out there and show what he's got. And especially on national TV, he did a great job. I'm really proud of him. Really happy for his particular scenario. Another guy that I wanted to talk about real quick is Jalen McMillan.
Oh, my boy. Oh,
I mean, is he someone that right now, does he fit in the offense as the number 3 right away? Or is he just someone that's kind of being groomed to be the future for Mike Evans?
No, he's not only is he just the 3 right away, but he's the 3 in the way that Jameson Williams is the technical 3 for the Lions, in the same way that Xavier Worthy is basically the 3 for Kansas City. He's a 3, but he is a dangerous 3. He should have had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right. Sure, the target share wasn't there, but it's going to be when Godwin's going 8 for 8, literally just batting 1,000 over there. And the red zone, Evans is just going to eat all day. sure, it's going to be tough to have a huge target share. But if anyone ever decides to double Mike Evans or decides to take away the middle of the field,
done. Yeah.
he's an absolute animal. He would have been drafted way higher in rookie drafts if not for the injury that kind of plagued him a little bit. But he had plenty of games where he was just as good as Rome Odunze. He's not quite the pedigree, but I think he's the slightly hidden AD Mitchell. He's great at separating. He's got a knack for the end zone. And as the 3, Baker, I think this team's going to throw the ball at a.
I was just going to ask.
They might lead the league in neutral game script pass. So I do think he is right now. He's a low end flex for me. But if he's consistently getting red zone looks, because what are you going to do? Baker seemed to like him, and I think Baker's the type of guy that's going to see like, he should have had 2 touchdowns, like legitimately. I like him. He's definitely one of my. I'm stashing him anywhere I can.
No, I like that, and you're liking what Baker's doing at this point. I mean, Baker. Can we argue that
I dropped
he could
Goff for Baker in 3 leagues?
Interesting. I was just going to ask. Okay, so Baker or Trevor Lawrence? Baker or here, let me look at my rankings. I gotta do my rankings.
Oh, I'm ready for this. Look at the weapons, man. When you add McMillan, like his weapons are elite and ridiculous, and his number 1 running back is a pass catcher that can't really run the ball. So yeah, he's gonna throw every red zone is just gonna be a touchdown.
What about Baker or Dak Prescott?
Spicy take. Baker.
Okay. Baker or Justin Herbert?
Baker.
Baker or Joe Burrow?
I'm still going to stick with Burrow.
Okay.
Since he does what Cincy needs to come playoff time, I can't slander Burrow that bad, but I tell you what, they might be closer than I think most people are willing to admit. I'm starting Baker currently.
Yeah.
Over you're talking about this week 2, Baker. If that's the question, rest of season, no.
I was going to say rest of season, but okay.
No, week 2, Baker, baby. We'll see a little later. I'm putting my money where my mouth is on Baker. We're going to win some money with him.
All right, nice. So let's get into our prop bets, and for me, it's going to be David Montgomery on the higher at 1.5 receptions. That probably went up too, but if you got it early enough. Hopefully you're able to get it at 1.5 receptions. I like it a lot. He's still involved in the pass game, and they will be sure to give him a screen here and there. As much as Gibbs is involved in the passing game, they definitely try to get Monty involved as well.
They want to use their running backs. They trust them. That's why I'm dropping them. Honestly, I think their backs are going to be like 65% of everything that happens on that team. I actually like this as kind of a play that most people aren't going to be looking at.
No. And what about yours, Kendall?
I'm sticking with Baker's going to do some nice things. Godwin higher than 5.5 receptions.
Ooh, okay.
With his role in the slot. Again, if you're going to take away Evans and you're going to try to slow the game down, I don't see a world in which Godwin doesn't get 6 to 8 balls every single game. And they're very catchable targets. Baker looks fairly accurate. Godwin looks healthy, great separation. He's feeling it. I think he's probably going to average 6 to 7 catches a game. And so this number is going to be the lowest it is now. It's going to be a lot higher later in the year.
Okay, fair enough. I like it.
Plus, this game's ridiculous. Look at the over-under. He's probably going to get 10 to 12 targets, and Mike Evans is going to get 8 to 10 targets. This is a ridiculously low number for how high-scoring this game should be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think this is going to be a quite interesting game to watch overall. Next, we're going to get right into the Colts and the Packers. Colts are favored by 3. Over-under is 40.5. Make sure, just so you guys know, make sure you guys are throwing your questions in the chat. If you have any, me and Kendall will get to them at the very end of the show. Make sure you guys are using the super chats if you want us to stop the show and answer your question right then. So let's get back into Colts and Packers. Like I said, Colts are favored by 3 here. They're going to be going out to Lambeau. Must starts for this. I see it as Anthony Richardson, JT, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. I think Jaden Reed too, man. But it's hard for me to really. It's hard for me to say that, but I will explain that in a second. But he's questionable right now with the shin and calf injury. but I do think that he could be heavily involved in this particular game, and it's mostly because of Jordan Love. Jordan Love is questionable for this game. They haven't ruled him out. He hasn't practiced all week, but let's just be fair. He's their franchise quarterback. He is just got paid a shit ton of money. They're not letting him out there. Let's just make that clear. So do you feel anything different? Is there anybody else you would start in this game? Is Pittman worth a dart throw? I don't see Pittman as a great option.
I still think Pittman is a must start. Week
Okay.
1 was kind of weird, but the target share was still there for Pittman. I mean, he had 9 completions, right? I mean, it was kind of a weird. That's not going to happen every day. You can't say that's super prescriptive of everywhere that's going to happen. Pittman's still going to eat. It's 1 week. I think when you balance it out over the next 3 to 4 weeks, Pittman might disappoint a little bit, but he's still absolutely in the must start category. He's not going below a flex.
Okay.
I'm disappointed when he's probably down your wide receiver 2 and a disappointing one at that, but probably a bounce back. He won't be needed in this game. So I'm not seeing, you're hoping for 10, 12 points. And I think you'd be happy with it.
Okay. Yeah, I have him at wide receiver 13 at the moment. He had 8 targets from last week, so he can definitely be involved, and he's definitely, it looks like a ton more involved than everybody else. So he's definitely someone you can start. Someone that you can must sit. For me, it's most of the wide receivers for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, Jaden Reed is the one exception to the rule because of the concept of how he's used. He's pretty much used like Debo in the backfield and a little bit as I hate calling it a gadget player, but he's one of those players that is a little bit all over the field and can be heavily involved, and everything's kind of scripted for him. So beyond Jaden Reed, I think that the rest of the receivers are kind of a must sit. We haven't seen much from Malik Willis.
I mean, look, if you can sit him, I think you do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's lineup is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right. But I think this is one we're probably asking ourselves. I have a league where somehow I ended up with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs.
Yeah.
And it's a 5-bencher. It's thin where you just can't pick up people very easily. There's no IR spot. So I've got Brooks chilling on my bench, which kind of sucks, but it's limiting my roster space.
Yeah.
In that situation, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah. You have no choice. Yeah. You just
if you have to
lower expectations.
There's a lot of flexes. I think they just have no ceiling in that game.
Yeah.
So
100%.
if you're playing the waiver aggressively and you have 6+ bench spots, you should be able to find something with a little more upside, of any kind.
That's
They're on par with a Bucky Irving at this point. I mean, it's pretty close. Yeah. Who would you rather start? I'll give you a Chuba Hubbard. Or any of the Green Bay wide receivers.
Oh, yeah, that's tough.
I'll tell you what, Chuba can fall into the end zone, though.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Chuba's a volume play for me because I know he's going to touch the ball a ton. I probably have him over the other guys, and it's really just because I don't trust Malik Willis. And to be fair, I don't even think I would be starting him in 2 QB leagues unless you are desperate. Unless you lost like 2 or 3 guys or 2 solid QBs and you're like reaching for a guy. Honestly, I'm not playing Malik Willis in any shape, way, or form.
He makes Daniel Jones look like he's worth every penny.
Well, I was going to ask questions. Malik Willis or Daniel Jones. I almost rather have Daniel Jones here.
No. So I think consensus is, look, try to pivot off. Jaden can do special things.
Yeah.
Find a pivot if you can.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose my week because the total passing offense looks like the Buffalo Bills in this game. I'm finding something else. And the entire offense is just going to run through Josh Jacobs anyways. I don't see any touchdown upside for the wide receivers for anything like that too. So
now, do you have any in the case that you just said that it's pretty much going to run through Josh Jacobs? I mean, if we're the ones seeing this as well, I can't imagine that I'm pretty sure the Colts see that too. Do you think that maybe this kind of puts Josh Jacobs in a bad snenario where they're going to have to put 8 in the box and pretty much go through him? And then, he's going to have probably a 20 touch, 30-yard or 38-yard game. Is it worth it? Do you just take the risk knowing that it's volume and just kind of hope that something happens?
I think by the end of the first quarter, the Colts are going to know exactly what they need to do to dominate the game, however it is, and it's just going to
Zaire
limit what they're
Franklin
able to
just
do.
stuffing them everywhere. If you are in IDP this week, you should be. If Zaire Franklin is available, which he shouldn't be, grab him.
Honestly, the Colts are going to be able to run the ball so successfully so
yeah.
often. This game is going to grind to a halt in the second half. I think Jonathan Taylor, I might throw a little sprinkle on him having 2+ touchdowns. For kind of a high end play that can pay off. I think the Colts are going to be able to control the pace of play so long that the Green Bay is just not going to have enough time on the clock to do anything meaningful.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the time that we get to see Malik Willis when he played in Tennessee, it didn't look good. He played on a Thursday night and it looked horrible. I watched the game. I watched that game and went, who? And I'm watching, and I know he was a respected and really high quality college player, but I don't see it here. Yeah, he'll use his legs, he'll have a good floor, but at the end of the day, I don't like it.
Over under tells you everything. It's kind of low. It might even be lower than that. But so if you're looking to gain an edge in the game, who do you like for your props? So I think the props that we're betting kind of tell all of you guys what we're thinking the game script is going to kind of look like. What are your thoughts?
So for my prop in this, I have Malik Willis lower than a 30-yard or 30 and a half as his longest completion. So I don't see him. I mean, he threw I think he's thrown 2 48-yard passes in his career. Like, that's his longest. I don't see that happening here. I don't see him bombing it out and trying to get the deep ball. I think that he's going to have a hard time doing that. I think the Colts have a good enough defensive front that they can really give him a little bit of havoc. If DeForest Buckner is active in this game, which he currently is probably going to be a game time decision, he's questionable at this point. I see huge things for the Packers. Well, I see huge things for Josh Jacobs because he will be able to run all over them. But if Buckner's there,
check down.
Exactly. He'll be involved a lot. So for me, honestly, I figured that would be a really good prop for this particular game.
I like, and it's one of those you got to kind of click the view more props on that one. So love the thinking outside the box, finding an extra edge. That's really nice. Love the stats too. He just doesn't throw deep. It's not his thing. It's probably not the game plan. That's really nice. I have a few on this one, just because this is a game I kind of want to bet a lot. It's not a super fun game, but I think I've got the game script where I want it to be. I think there's some numbers that are just dumb. My favorite, if I'm going to take one bet, it's going to be Anthony Richardson lower than 28.5 pass attempts.
I like that.
Look, it was a spicy kind of game.
Yeah, they said
he threw 19 passes in a spicy game.
Nice.
This number doesn't make any sense to me. In a game script where Jonathan Taylor could carry the ball 30 times like Joe Mixon, in what world does Anthony Richardson get close to 28.5 pass attempts? This is probably my favorite bet on the entire slate. If I could just throw a crisp hundy on anything and say, F it, this is my one bet this week, that's what I'm doing. I don't know how that's not printing money. I might get a second mortgage on my house. How does Vegas know something I don't hear?
Yeah, exactly.
But that seems ludicrous that he would ever even need to pass the ball that much.
I don't see him doing that in general. Just our conversations about Anthony Richardson in general, he runs the ball more than he would ever throw it. So I see it.
This is insane. My little bonus one, though, I guess, is I think if the Packers have to move the ball a little bit, I think Dobbs is probably the answer on third downs, and there are going to be a lot of them where it's 3rd and 10. I think he's going to be the less exciting, just get a couple yards, just get a completion. We know he's a good route runner. He's just not as explosive as the other guys, but I think that's what makes it pretty safe. I have him higher than 26.5 receiving yards, and I would actually parlay that with higher than 2.5 catches. Well, if you're going to do one, I'm going to do them both.
Yeah, why not?
I don't see him beating it by a lot, but I think they're going to be down. They're going to have to throw the ball, and I just see him as a way to move the chains, where I think Christian Watson's going to run some more aggressive type of routes. I think Jaden Reed's going to run some more aggressive type of routes. I think the Colts are going to be perfectly fine giving up a few 7-yard completions to Dobbs. I think they're going to take away the weapons that they want to take away. And I don't think they really care that much about Dobbs. So I do think that's probably a direction that they're going to have to go when they realize there's 8 in the box. Jacobs, you're not going to win the game.
Yeah,
This is
down.
when teams are playing prevent defenses, what do you see? How does that fourth quarter look? It's a lot of short passes that move the chains a little bit. And I think he's going to be an answer. I think he's going to run a lot of out routes and stuff. So
yeah,
I like that.
I like Dobbs a lot in general. I do think he's more the possession guy comparative to the other guys. I do think that he can be very heavily involved. I like it. So let's move right along. Remember, everybody, make sure you guys are putting your questions in the chat. We will get to them at the very end of the show. If you haven't already, you can use the super chats as well. And if we see those, we're going to shut down the show and make sure that we answer that question. So we're going to move right along and go to the Seahawks versus the Patriots. They're going to be at New England. They are 3-point favorites. Over under is 38.5. One of the lowest scoring on the slate, ladies and gentlemen. So in this particular game, the biggest news that we got today was that Kenneth Walker is going to be doubtful for this game with an oblique injury. So if you were smart enough to pick up Zach Charbonnet, he is a must start. I think he will be greatly used in this particular game. Ramondre Stevenson, load him up. He's more than what I thought he would be. I'm really happy with how they're using him as well. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, I like both of them as well in this particular game. Is there anybody else that I'm missing here?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Patriots wide receivers, until I see something it's not worth mentioning.
Yeah,
not
fair
in
enough.
the face of what might be a tough defense. And I think you named everyone on Seattle here that's relevant, at least in this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in this particular case, the wide receivers for the Patriots, I am sitting. I mean, the one strength of that particular Seattle defense is the corners. They are, Witherspoon and Warren. I always get his name wrong. Woolen. They are both solid, big. They're huge too. They're like 6'1" or 6'4", and they are just big, solid corners that can shut you down. Honestly, I don't like any of them. Brissett, I'm not really too pleased with. Honestly, he's just a game manager, and he's really just distributing the ball the way he needs to. The other, I mean, of course, Walker, you're not playing him. Just get him out of your lineup. So let's talk about this Patriots' new identity in this case. We got one game to be able to kind of watch him and see what he's about, or see what the team is about. Can we trust the wide receivers here, or what are we just kind of out? I know you were huge on Javon Baker in the beginning of the season. I know
I'm a Polk guy, actually. I like Baker, but
that's right. You like Polk too.
I'm still very in on Polk. If you watch, it was a tough game to watch, but if you watch the game, Polk was regularly, absolutely dicing up his defender. He was open a ridiculous amount. I think when I was looking at PFF, his separation metric was like top 20 in the league. It was elite for a wide receiver. Brissett's he's not a guy that's going to be able to get to a third read.
Yeah,
he's not going to be a first or second read right away as a rookie.
I'm
keeping him around quite a bit. I dropped him in a couple of places. I'm picking him back up as soon as I can in a lot of leagues, because I think in a week or two, he's going to start exploding and he's going to become the wide receiver one by at least week 8. But if we're talking about week 2 here, I'm just not trusting anybody. And that's mostly because I respect what I saw out of the Seahawks defense. And I do think this game is going to grind to a little bit of the halt, and the running backs are going to be the feature. Yeah. Oh boy, Rasta paying himself a little bit. Is this like a tax evasion thing?
Yeah,
Rasta,
you got to put in a little
laundering your money through super chat over here.
No, I asked them to help me out, so I appreciate that, Rasta. So I mean, a little bit with the wide receiver, but that's a way. We're just going to show you. That's just what we're going to do. We're going to stop everything just for you guys. So make sure you guys, if you want any of your questions answered, just use that super chat if you'd like. So for the wide receivers for the Patriots, I mean, we saw last week, KJ Osborne was very, he was involved, with his 6 targets. Is he the one here? Do you see him as the one for this particular team? And then Pop Douglas is 2, and then Polk's kind of thrown in with Thornton and stuff like that?
I'm not.
I know you're not going to
watched-
touch it.
when
You're
I
not
watched-
playing
when-
any of these guys. I'm just
No,
saying.
but what I'm saying is I'm not labeling a 1 yet in this
Okay.
really weird, messed up, backwards game.
Fair
I
enough.
think Brissett just decided to throw it where he wanted to, and it happened to go that way. From a
Okay.
talent perspective, from a winning your route perspective, no, there's no world in which Osborne is the one.
Okay.
I mean, again, the way the Patriots, I mean, I know Belichick's not there, but I think the Patriots usually find very creative ways to play both sides of the ball, and very like they're different than every other team. And I think that was like a weird part of their strategy. I don't know, but I don't think he's the one. I think if anything, Douglas would definitely be the one over him, but maybe it's just the way they were utilizing it. Maybe it was something about the way the defense was playing that they just identified that this is going to be an easy way to get some Brissett some completions. Right? There's a big difference between easy way to get completions and the one. Is Godwin the one? He had more targets and catches than Evans,
True.
right?
Yeah.
No, we clearly, like, no one's saying
We
that.
know. Yeah.
This is kind of my very low end example of that, where no, he's not the one. He just had that game. I'm not reading into it going forward. Honestly, going forward, if I'm rostering any of them ever this season, I'm only going for upside. So I think Polk is the only player this entire season I'm probably going to roster. Maybe Pop, because last season he was a little bit of a waiver wire wonder for like a week or two here or there. But that's not until they have a quarterback change. And until that happens, none of them are playable.
Fair enough. Now that we know that Kenneth Walker is now unavailable, he will be doubtful. How do you feel about Zach Charbonnet being the head guy in this particular offense? Do you think he's somebody that you should be investing in any shape, way, or form?
I mean, if he's I don't think he's, at least I out of like 20 or 30 leagues, he's not on the waivers in any of them for me. So he's not like an option.
Okay.
If you have him, he's a must start, just because he's a pure bell cow by every sense of the word.
I think that running back 12.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he ends up being what Ramondre was last week. If I'm being honest, I think that's a pretty decent comp for what he could be.
And he's involved in the passing game too.
He's going to be a DFS darling. I mean, get him into your DFS
we'll talk
lineup.
About that in a little bit.
I had a edge. By the way, I might be fading him just because like tournament plays, everyone's going to have him. So he's my my chalk fade. Which is probably going to bite me in the absolute ass. But no, he's a must start. And look, I want to see how he does. The bigger takeaway in week 2 is it's not about where do you play him or not. That's obvious. It's what does he look like? How do his cuts look? I mean, does he play good football?
You're playing him in redraft, though, if you have him, though.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not just flex. I mean, he's at least RB2 worthy. I would play him over quite a bit. I
am at RB. I have him at RB12. So that
if your team's loaded and you're RB heavy, and it's like a close call, I'm still playing like J.K. Dobbins over him yet, because I just haven't seen the talent. Chuba's a bell cow too, right? And that didn't work out. I want to see the talent on the field really translate.
So that's a good question. So would you have you would play Dobbins over Charbonnet?
I'd play Dobbins over Charbonnet, but I would play Charbonnet over Najee Harris.
Well, I was gonna ask those questions. Oh, don't you worry. I had it.
Let's play the game.
We'll play the game here. We got James Conner.
No, I like Connor.
Okay, so Connor would be above Charbonnet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Rashad White
with how many passes he's going to catch in that over-under. Definitely going with Rashad White.
Okay, so he's fallen a little bit. Jordan Mason.
Oh, no.
Now that we know about Christian Watson. And for those that are just tuning in now, we're not talking about the San Francisco game. That's going to be on the next show, if you see at the bottom here. So make sure you guys check out Rasta and Phil on the next one. But they are going to get into it a little bit more. But just so you guys know, for those that didn't know coming in, Christian McCaffrey one is out, and 2, he might be going to IR. So keep an eye on that. For those that got Jordan Mason, congrats.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's get back to Charbonnet. So Charbonnet or Travis Etienne?
ETN. I'll save you the trouble. I have Charbonnet way lower than I think most
Okay, so
people's
then
like going
I was
crazy.
going to say, so he's probably at like 21, 22 for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a low end running
Okay.
back too for me. All
Fair
of
enough.
those like volume guys that are in like weak offenses where every player kind of feels gross. Like Pickens is great, but Pittsburgh kind of feels gross, right? That type of stuff. I'm
Okay.
playing him over all the gross players because I think he has all the work plus upside. But anybody that has a little bit of flash, the guys you drafted in like round 6 and 7, I'm taking all those guys over him until I see it.
Perfect. All right, cool beans. So let's move right into our props for this particular game. For me, it is Ramondre Stevenson getting higher than 2.5 receptions. I was surprised when I saw this. I was happy when I saw it. I hit that button harder than you can imagine and as quickly as I possibly could. So I got it at 2.5. He had 3 targets last game. They definitely involved him in the passing game, even a lot more than, Antonio Gibson, who they brought in that everyone thought was going to take over for him. So let's just be clear. Ramondre has good, he has good pass, catching chops. They love getting him involved in the screen game. I really do like this a lot. So I'm really
3.5 catches last year in a down year. So
exactly.
yeah, I like it. I got a weird one. Jacoby Brissett higher than 4 rushing attempts.
Okay.
I think he had 7 last game. Here's why I like it. It's game script proof.
Fair enough.
If it's close, I just think his natural reaction in a lot of scenarios is going to be, I'll scramble for a couple. I'm not going to force the ball into a bad situation. I'm not going to create a turnover. I'll just get a couple of yards. And I think he's going to do that 5 or 6 times, maybe more. If his O-line doesn't hold up, I think he'll scramble a little bit. If his O-line does hold up and no one's open, I think he's going to scramble a little bit. And he had 7 last game in a game where he probably didn't need to as much. So I think it's a pretty solid bet. It's not a lock, but I definitely think it's more 60-40 the way I'm looking at it.
Okay, fair enough. So let's move right along to the Jets versus the Titans. We got the Jets favored by 3.5. They're going to be going to Tennessee to face the Titans. The over-under for this game is 41 even. So must starts here. I mean, you definitely got to start guys like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, maybe even Aaron Rodgers here. But I don't think you're playing him in 1 QB. You're definitely playing him in 2 QB super flex, scenarios. How do you feel about Will Levis? Is he a must start?
No, no, I'm not going to be starting me some Will Levis here.
Okay.
Even into there are flex plays, positional players I would take over him in this particular. The Jets' strength is their secondary, not their run stopping ability. So I think much like the Bears were able to absolutely decimate them from a secondary perspective. I think that's what the Jets are going to do as well. He has no ceiling in this game. I think the Titans are going to have to be extremely run heavy, and Levis is going to either have a bad or a very bad game. You pick which one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit lower on my expectation for Hall, just because I know how good Jeffrey Simmons is. And he can shut down a rush team real quick. But I do think that they are a little bit weak on the outside. So I do think that they can be, beyond what they just got with, Ladarius Sneed and so on and so forth. I do think Wilson can win that particular matchup overall. What are we thinking about Calvin Ridley? I view him as a must sit for this game. I agree.
If you have to play him, your bench, what's happening. It's not an option, right?
Yeah.
But if you can find an option, if it's close, I am sitting him. Hopkins also had a less than a 30% snap share. He'll be more involved. He's going to take what little targets and catchable targets at that away from Ridley. I'm sitting him if I can.
Yeah, I mean, he's facing Sauce Gardner as well. I don't see a lot of. I don't know, but I can have a thought that Will Levis might not want to go towards that, and it might be a bad day for him if he does. what about Adam Lazard? Are you sitting him after a 2-touchdown week? Are you even involving him in your team in any way,
No,
shape,
I
or
think a
form?
little bit of fool's gold. I got to see it multiple
Fair
weeks.
enough.
Mike Williams wasn't involved at all. He's going to be a little healthier. He's going to mix in a little bit. And I think Aaron Rodgers is a high IQ guy. He knows he didn't get Wilson the ball like he wanted to. If he's thinking about a Super Bowl run, he's going to need to build chemistry and timing and make these reps count with Wilson. I think it's a big get right game. Hey,
I like
for
it.
you know what I'm saying? So I think he's going to hyper target Wilson. They're going to make that happen and then ride it out with Brees. And fourth quarter might be we'll get to see what Braylon's got, I think. But yeah, Lazard, I think fool's gold. I'm fading him. Not a flex for me.
Okay. For me, I think a little sneaky pick might be Tyler Conklin. I know they didn't really involve him a little bit. He's more of like a really low end tight end too, but he's definitely someone I have on my radar just to keep an eye on. Just because I think in this particular game, I think they might have to use him a little more. They don't have Kevin Byard anymore. Kevin Byard used to be the guy that shut down that tight end on the other team. They don't have him anymore. And I don't see anybody on that team that can really, go against somebody like Conklin, who is a little bit more of an inline tight end. So we'll see what happens there. It's just kind of a little, little bet. But let's move on to our props. Our props here for me, it's Will Levis higher than 10.5 rushing yards. I see him running for his life in this damn game. I see the Jets defense as being a very good pass rushing defense. They tend to run a little bit more man than most teams. I see him taking the advantage of that and running. They're going to definitely try to spy him, with CJ and do the best that they can. But I overall think that he can exceed 10 rushing yards in this particular game.
Yeah, I like that a little bit. It seemed like one of his, hey, if I'm really not feeling happy about myself, I'm going to try to get a couple yards. I could definitely see that. Mine's all correlating with I think Garrett Wilson gets it right. I like Rodgers lower than 32.5 pass attempts with the way the game script is, with how strong I think their run game can be and how controlled the game can be. Rodgers has always been a hyper efficiency guy. He's never been to throw the ball
100%.
40 times a game guy. I think that number is just a little bit broken. I definitely have him more throwing, 26 to 30, and 32 seems like it would have to be a very weird game script in order to go that direction. I know that's kind of anti-correlation, but within those attempts, I think he's going to be hyper targeting Garrett Wilson. I like Garrett Wilson higher than 5.5 receptions. I'm going to go ahead and just double down. I'm going to parlay that with higher than 69.5 reception yards as well. If I'm really looking to go at, I don't think I'm going to straight up throw him down for a touchdown as well. It seems to be a little bit greedy, but I definitely see Wilson being like a 7 for 8 for like 90 type of game. I really do.
Okay. I like it. All right, let's move on to the next game. Remember, make sure you guys throw your start sit questions in the chat. We will get to them at the very end. We have 2 more games left. We have the Giants, who are going out to Washington to face the Commanders. Commanders are 1.5 point favorites. The over-under is 43. Yay. I think in this particular game, I think the only 2 guys that you can start, only 2 guys on the Giants, 3 guys on the Giants that you can start are Neighbors, Wandell, and Singletary.
Agreed.
I don't think there's anybody else you can really touch on that. For the Washington Commanders, I think it's Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson. I think those are probably the only 2 that you can really go with. I'll give you a really sneaky one, Zach Ertz. And I'm saying this because, 1, I'm a Giants fan, and 2, I watch every Giants game.
What's the rule?
Play your damn tight end versus the Giants. They no longer have Xavier. They don't have Xavier McKinney anymore. They don't have anybody that can stop the damn tight end. It's infuriating. They are going to be playing Isaiah Simmons this game, which they didn't do last game. So I don't understand that, but maybe he's involved in that particular scenario, and maybe that's why he's playing this game, is to cover. But Zach Ertz as a low-end tight end 1, you can definitely use if you're in a pinch. If you are, in a situation where Jake Ferguson is not available, he's going to be most likely doubtful. He is doubtful, but, most likely not playing. You might need to grab a guy. There you go. Zach Ertz. He's there on a silver platter for you. Anybody else that I might be missing here?
No, I think this one's pretty straight up.
Pretty
B. Rob and
straightforward.
Eckler both very fine plays. Obviously, we learned that Jaden likes to check the ball down quite a bit. Still feeling a little leery about the downfield stuff. Hopefully, he gets into that a little bit later. Coaching staff wants him to run a little bit less. If that's part of the game script, I think that probably helps Eckler and B. Rob get a few more targets than they would as well. So I think they're plenty flex worthy in PPR. Not super exciting, but with not the greatest defense against them, both of them can fall into the end zone too. So I think they have a decent floor with okay upside.
Yeah, Terry's at my little panic alarm in the background that I can hear. I'm a little nervous. I got him everywhere. So for me, it's a little disheartening. One guy that you are sitting, unless you are in a Q2 QB and you went 0 QB in a super flex, it's Daniel Jones. Just sit him. It's not worth it. He is not worth playing until he does something worth it. I'm a Giants fan. I hate him. It's getting really difficult to watch. It really is. So let's get into let's get into the Commander side. I could talk everybody's ear off about the Giants, and I do every week. If you ever have a Giants question, throw it in the chat. I will definitely answer it to the best of my ability. But in this particular case, let's talk about the Commanders a little bit. Now that Jaden Daniels is in the league, he's drafted, he's part of it. Got to see a little bit of him last night. What's something that? How do you see this going? Season long. Is he somebody that can reach that top 8 in QB? Could he finish at the top 8 if he keeps doing what he's doing? You already kind of mentioned the concept that they kind of told him to tone it down a little bit and not run as much.
I think coaches will do whatever they can to get their quarterback in a direction until the whistle blows and it's all about a dub, and they're going to do whatever it takes. They want him to last. They're not winning the Super Bowl this year, so I do think them saying that is more, hey, it's okay to make some mistakes.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Let's go ahead and try to get Terry the ball so he stays in the damn team. Let's work on our passing. They're not saying you're bad at running. Let's not do that. They're saying that we can't be one-dimensional. 100%. And if we're going to have some growing pains, let's figure it out now. Okay, so let's give it a shot, right? So it's not a terrible situation. If a game is close, they're going to do whatever it takes to win. This is a game that's not going to get out of hand for them. Right. So in super negative game scripts, I do think he could have some ugly games here and there that they're okay with. But no, he is absolutely for me, he's a top 7 quarterback, 100%. He's moving ahead of guys like Burrow for me. His weekly upside is absolutely in the top 5. I think I firmly plant him like he has the same weekly upside that Jalen Hurts and those type of guys have. Absolutely. Okay. And I mean, he's probably going to rush for more rushing touchdowns than Jalen Hurts. He's probably going to have more rushing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson. He reminds me a lot of how Kyler Murray was his rookie season, right? When he got in trouble, he just scampered and made it look pretty good. He has a lot of similarities.
He also had 2 Hall of Fame receivers on his team, but that's beyond the.
Yep, didn't hurt. So they're going to be some ugly games, but he wasn't just rushing a little bit. I mean, it was
he was rushing a lot.
He was rushing a lot, and he looked good doing it. To be honest, I think it's going to be one of those when he decides to run, he's going to have some Justin Fields like games where he might pass for 150 and. From a fantasy standpoint, you're not going to care. It's just going to be great.
I mean, 16 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game versus the Bucks.
He's legitimately a better rusher than both of his running backs. He is the goal line back.
100%, 110%. I'll definitely reiterate something about DJ that I feel for Jaden Daniels. Like you said about throwing the damn ball down. Throw the damn ball to your new shiny toy. Don't be scared. Just freaking toss it. I don't care if you get an interception 30 yards down the field. At least show that you can throw it down the field. That's why I love Wan'Dale Robinson, because of the concept that he loves to check the damn ball down or throw it in that 5 to 10 yard window. Don't get me started. All right.
That's some yak too, man. He's got some yak on them short ones. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good. So let's get into our prop bets for this game. My prop bet for this is Austin Eckler higher than 7.5 receptions. It's kind of going against the narrative of what this game might turn out, in the context that if the Commanders are up, but they did involve him a ton in the passing game. He had 4 targets last week and 4 receptions. So for me, I hit the over on, I hit the higher on this without a doubt. So
Yeah, until I see something different, I think they're both going to have 3 or 4 catches a game, him and B-Rob. So I like that. I think that by the middle of the year, that number is not going to stay that low. So it's a nice like early season, not quite a free square. Things can happen, but I like that one a lot. I went on the other side of the ball. I'm going to bet some Giants players here.
Ooh.
Like you, I'm a big Wandale guy.
Yeah.
I saw his usage. I know he didn't have many catches, but he was the first read, and he was definitely I need to get a completion. We need to get DJ going. Just get him in a rhythm. I think that's going to be all Wandale. I like him for higher than 4 receptions.
Okay.
And then my kind of free one is I think Singletary higher than 2 and a half receptions. In the last negative game script, he had 5 targets for 4 catches. I think he's going to be he already was a good check down option. DJ needs some short check down options. It can't be one.
That's all he does.
Day.
But that's all he does. He checks down all the time. Just take the money and run for that one.
Yeah, Singletary's just a smart player. He seems to have a good football IQ. He had great coaching. Dable trusts him, and I think he's going to do whatever DJ needs. DJ's got some legs. He doesn't necessarily need to block for him as much. I just think he needs to give him an outlet so he doesn't hurt himself too much. So yeah, I like both of those. I think it's going to be a high catch game for some of these players, just low yardage on the Giant side of things. So that's why I'm going with the receptions, not the yardage. I'm not parlaying them with the yards.
All right, fair enough. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just go right into the Sunday night football game. Make sure you guys stay for the next show at 11 o'clock. Reason why we're doing this, of course, me being a Giants fan and Kendall being a Bears fan, we know a little bit more about these teams, so we want to give you guys that little bit of a perspective. Of course, the guys on the next show are both 49ers fans, so they have the 49er game. And all the 4 o'clock games are pretty much on their slate, so make sure if you guys want to check out those, make sure you go to their show right after us. We're going to be – I'm trying to get it right up to it. I know that they, give them a little bit of time to kind of get, what they need done. But we're going to get started and go through the Bears going to Houston to face the Texans. Texans are 6.5-point favorites here. Over under is 45.5 points. This is a great game to go, be a part of. You're starting to mix it. Diggs, Collins, Dell, Stroud, CJ Stroud. Let's get into the Bears side. It might be a little bit different. I think we're only going to be going here with DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore are probably your 2 best bets. Is there anybody I'm missing here, Kendall?
No. God, no.
Not
even if Keenan plays. Guys, we
Matt?
all remember what Keenan did the last time he did the decoy nonsense on LA. I'm not falling for it again, Keenan. I'm not doing it.
What about, and to reiterate what Kendall's talking about, Keenan Allen is currently a questionable, and he did not practice all week long. We'll probably see that change and a little bit more information moving up, to Sunday. So make sure you guys come back to my show on Sunday morning when we are getting, right up to actives and inactives. But in this case, those are the only guys I can think of. Cole Kmet.
Look, there's better options on the waiver until I see Kale play better. You mentioned a few of them earlier on, to be honest. Jets with
Conklin or Zach Ertz.
Conklin and Goddard, Ertz. I like that a little bit more than Kmet right now, giving the passing yardage is not where it needs to be. And Kmet's doing a little more blocking, I think, than he's going to be doing catching the ball.
Okay. So sitting-wise, we're going to be sitting Caleb Williams at this point. Keenan Allen, I'm not playing him. Roma Dunze was limited Friday, but he did not practice Wednesday and Thursday.
Even if he was healthy the whole week, you wouldn't play him.
No, you're not playing him. I mean, honestly, it is a ramp up for him. So we could maybe see him on the field. So he might be a better real life receiver than he would be fantasy for us. Right now for me, it's Dalton Schultz. He is active technically. They took him off the injury report today, even though he had limited practices here and there. So he is off the injury report. He is good to go. I thought it was slim for a minute because they kept saying that it was unsure and all these different things, but they took him off this afternoon. So we'll see. So let's kind of get into the Bears offense a little bit. The Texans, we know. we're going to kind of break that. We're going to ask that question in a few minutes, but let's start with the Bears here.
I've got another beer for this one. Oh my God.
I mean, this was the premier game for Caleb. He comes out, it's his first game. Everybody's excited. The first one, the 101, and he lays what? 93 yards.
The quote by a Titans coaching staff player or I forget who it was. Look it up though. If you guys can find this, you're going to enjoy this. They said if we would have on 1st and 10 punted the ball, we would have won this game. Wow. By the way, I mean, clip that. That is meme worthy. Whoever that is absolutely filthy.
That's crazy.
And also, sadly, it's not the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. I mean, Caleb was absolutely awful. Kudos to Bill Belichick for calling it out. But I mean, I'll be watching. I mean, Bill Belichick is going to be the absolute analyst.
Oh, so
this year in the preseason, he's like, I mean, that's some plays.
You know what it was?
It was inaccurate, and I was unimpressed.
So it's kind of like what they were doing in the Water Boy, where they they basically took knees and punt it just to, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
He was wildly inaccurate. It was just insane. It was what Keenan should have had, maybe not a touchdown. I don't think he had the legs to get there, but that should have been a very nice completion. He was at least 3-4 yards of separation, which is 2,000% NFL open.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of the ball hit the dirt, it bounced, and then it was a catch. It was pretty awful.
He looked like he had happy feet. I mean, his QB rating was 55.7. I mean, his longest pass was 13 yards. I mean, that's bad. He had a rough day. Let's just say a rough day. DeAndre Swift got the majority of touches with 10, carries. So he's looking okay. But wide receivers wise, I mean, it's pretty clear in this particular backfield that, Keenan Allen was heavily used. I mean, he had 11 targets in this game. I think it was more of a security blanket than anything. Yeah. But Moore was definitely available, had the longer catch for the 13 yards. So how do you see this offense working itself out once everybody is kind of healthy and, has a few weeks down the road? How do you feel about this?
Okay. So let's take the good with the bad, right? Because rookies sucked across the
of
board.
course.
It wasn't
rookies.
just Caleb.
Yeah.
They were all pretty atrocious.
Beyond Jalen Daniels, who
right?
rushed for 2 touchdowns. Yes.
Look, it's fair to say that in the modern NFL era where preseason is not what it used to be.
100%. This is preseason game
OTAs,
2.
training camp, right? I think all rookies across the board outside of this insane 2024 wide receiver class, realistically, I think all the rookies in the NFL are going to have slower starts.
100%.
Right? We're just going to see it at a much higher clip. I don't think Caleb's immune to that. Now, if we have to take some upside, or we can extrapolate this and say, okay, let's say he gets it right a little bit. We all saw the talent. The talent in college was undeniable, right? But the speed of the game changes a lot. And for a high IQ football player that I think Caleb is, I think reacting to, real full contact, full pressure NFL defenses doing their thing. I think his timing and his rhythm were just a little bit off. And I think he's smart enough and he has the talent to get that back, right? The upside is, while there was some pretty bad things that were happening, I did like that he was able to open up some plays. He was able to spin out of some broken protection. I do think he was able to extend some plays. I would have liked to see him actually use his legs a little bit more and just run for more first downs. You saw a little bit more of that towards the end of the game, and I think that was encouraging, right? That's what really helped guys like Kyler in their rookie year. Kyler couldn't see over the O-line, but he was able to consistently move the chains on his own while he adapted to his own offense. And I liked seeing that even when he was nervous, he was still able to extend those plays. Now, what happens when he starts extending those plays and then can finish in an accurate fashion? When you have guys that have high IQ like Keenan Allen that can stay in the play, find a way to get open, pass catching weapons like Swift that can maybe find a way to get open at some point in time, I think the future is actually still pretty bright. He's not a guy that if I can keep him on my bench, I think the brighter days are legitimately bright. With some of that ability to just extend the play. I think we're going to be able to see some of that. His high case, if he can get it right, there's no reason he can't finish akin to Geno 2 years ago. I think he can be similar, where like the feet were like a blessing in disguise. It wasn't a heavy thing, but he was able to make it happen with good wide receivers at a reasonable rate and kind of do its thing. I can see him finishing that way. I don't think he's going to make it happen against the Texans that have a reasonably formidable defense. It's not quite there. I would like to see some additional signs of encouragement, progressing in the right direction, maybe a few less mistakes. Absolutely not touching it with a 10-foot pole in week 2, though.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. I mean, honestly, in this situation, I mean, do you see him being better after week 7, after their bye? You know, like he might be a little bit more start worthy by then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And I think the coaching staff is going to find ways to make it work with him a little bit more, right? They don't really know what he's comfortable doing. I think Caleb is going to be a type of player that's going to give them sometimes blunt and maybe a little arrogant type of feedback. You know, hey, I never get nervous, right? But I think he's going to be able to actually give them feedback on what route concepts he was feeling, where he was a little bit weaker. I do think he's analytical enough that he's going to be able to like make the offense get better from a play calling perspective around what he's doing and not doing well. So yeah, absolutely. By week 6 or 7, I think we're going to be in good shape.
All right, cool beans. So last but not least, we're going to make this one a little bit quicker. Texans first game, we get to see how the offense works a little bit and get a good idea of this wide receiver core because they're all healthy and everybody's good. I mean, we got to see the targets were pretty, you know, I would say even 8, 7, 6, 8 going to Collins, 7 going to Dell, 6 going to Diggs. How we feel about this particular group? I know that Diggs had the bigger day with the 2 touchdowns overall, but the offense as a whole, those wide receiver group, who do you like more from what you saw?
I still think I like Nico.
Okay.
He did have the more consistent, deeper targets. I liked his route tree. If you kind of look up where he was running and how he was running, I think it's conducive to some reasonably high fantasy finishes. And he looked good doing it. I think Tank Dell, too many people are down on him, and the underlying data says no, Dell is still like the wide receiver 2, in my opinion, on the offense because he had a majority of the air yards. Look up the air yard statistic. I don't have it in front of me, but his targets were the right kind of targets. If you're going to run, if you're going to have, if you're not going to go 8 for 8, if you're going to go 4 for 8 and have some ugly games like that, you want big, deep, lots of air yards, and he had a lot of them. In some other games where those targets go a little bit different, it's going to be him with the air yards and the touchdowns. So better days ahead for Dell. His usage was nice. His snap share was a little bit low, but that's when they were running the ball 30 times. When he was on the field, he was getting targeted and targeted deep. So I think Dell is a stay on him, don't fade. And Diggs had the least amount of air yards by a country margin, but he had the fantasy points with the 2 touchdowns. He's still good, but I'm still going Nico, Dell, Diggs. Diggs for me is probably, I would sell high on him if you can. I don't think people are buying it personally. I think they've gotten a little wise and can kind of look up that stuff. I'm starting all 3, and I think it's one of those, if you did just a blanket, I want a lot of the Texans, I'm going to take them where I can across my portfolio.
Okay.
I think you were happy regardless of where you found your pocket of Texans, much like how the Chiefs are kind of probably going to feel this year. I think you're happy with all of them, and I think you're starting all of them.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, I'm pretty big on him. I know you know how much I love Nico. I think this week it might be a week that we might see a little bit. I think we should lower our expectations just a smidge, and that kind of goes into my particular prop bet for this particular week. My prop, I have 2. I tried getting 1 just to make it easy, but I had 2 for this game, and one of them is Joe Mixon higher on his 2.5 receptions. I think that he can easily get in any game script. If this goes one way or the other, heavily involved in the passing game, which is what they wanted. They wanted to dump off a little bit more to the running back. The next one that I have kind of leads into what I was just talking about. Nico Collins lower than 5 receptions. Reason why I'm saying this, Jalen Johnson is a solid shutdown corner. He is somebody that can shut your team down. I think what they're going to do is put him on Collins, which will make it where he might not be as involved, which is a shame in my situation. But I honestly think that in this particular case, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for Collins for this game. I do think that Tank Dell might have a better game, but Collins' splits at home is scary. Go look at his splits. His splits at home, his fantasy points are ridiculous at home. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but I do like it just because of the Jalen Johnson being all over him. I think maybe they try to like shade away from him a little bit. So we'll wait and see. Kendall, what are yours?
Yeah, I think we've got similar takes on how the game might go. This is probably like last week. You can say, was it the Bears defense or was it putrid Will Levis and what they were doing? I'm of the opinion, have been for a while, that the Bears defense is pretty quietly elite. They have done a lot. They looked fantastic. They seem pretty well coached. There's a lot to like there. Mm-hmm. I think they could do some nice things in this game. I still think we clearly lose the game. But I think if you see Nico with like 3 catches and some weird stuff happens, I think this is the game where you turn your head and be like, that's a nightmare matchup. This is not a defense you want to play a lot of fantasy players against. So my prop bets go along that line. I'm basically taking the under on everything that I can, and I'm taking the lower than on everything that I can with the Houston Texans. Stroud, my favorite bet is Stroud lower than 34.5 pass attempts.
Okay.
I still think it's going to be negative. I think the Bears offense is going to mightily struggle. I think Mixon will probably get another 30 touches. And I just don't see a world where Stroud needs to throw the ball 34.5 times. He didn't throw that in his last game, which was a little bit of a barn burner against the Colts. Why would he need to do that against the Bears that have a secondary that's looking quite nice in a running game that they might be able to just kind of slowly run away the game with, pun intended there, right? So lower on the 34.5 pass attempts. I'm going to parlay that with the yards too. I think they're going to be correlated. I just don't see a world where he's going to need to put up that many yards. 278.5 seems a little bit rich. He didn't do it last week, and this defense is a lot better. And I think the game script can be a lot more run heavy from both sides, slow the clock down, slow the total play volume for both sides. Lower than 34.5 pass attempts parlayed with lower than 278.5 passing yards for CJ Stroud. I'm going to smash the lower on both. If you want to hit the other side of the ball a little bit, this is my favorite game to bet. Obviously, I'm the most well-researched on the Bears, which also means I'm basically living in a slightly intoxicated fashion just to get by. It's going to be a long year, boys and girls. Welcome, come into the tavern, man. That's on me. But DeAndre Swift, higher than 11.5 rush attempts. He had 10 last game, but it was fluky. The amount of turnovers that stopped drives way early and gave Tennessee some ridiculous field position really just it made it an awkward style of game. That's the only reason Swift didn't have about 15 attempts is because of the turnovers and how that kind of played out. When you look at his underlying usage, I mean, he was the only back getting any touches. I think that's probably going to stay that way.
I think Dameon Pierce is also out for this game, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I definitely believe so. So I don't think Swift is going to carry the ball 20 times, but 14 or 15, I think, is almost box. This is just pretty easy there.
Questionable. My bad.
On the riskier side of things, Swift higher than 14.5 receiving yards, parlayed with 2.5, the higher on 2.5 receptions. I think when they look back, they're just going to need to get some shorter completions for Caleb, warm him up, make something happen. My big call is I think Swift has a big bounce back game. Well, get right game, if you will. And he's going to be a reason the offense smooths itself out and sustain drives a little bit more. The coaching staff brought him in because they wanted to use him as a passing weapon. He had 1 target last week. I think that's going to be a point of emphasis this week, and they're going to use him to open up the passing game in a greater way. So I like all of these bets. Oh, and by the way, Mixon 17.5 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Go ahead and sprinkle a little higher on that one.
100%. Well, boys and girls, we have come to that time where we just finished, which is fantastic. We're at the end of all of our games that we're doing. Please continue. If you have any questions, start sit wise, make sure you get them in now, because we got another 18 minutes. We're going to try to roll through these questions and get you guys, for anybody that has thrown a question in, we're going to get to you guys right now. So first and foremost, let me get this up so we have that. But let's get started. We're going to start with, hold on one sec. I got to scroll up again. Here we go. We got Y Prime in the house. What's going on, Y Prime? He said, What's up, guys? Prior to all that, he goes start 2. James Conner versus the Rams, Pacheco versus the Bengals, or Jordan Mason versus the Vikings. Interesting.
What are you thinking?
Starting 2. I think I'm gonna lean. It's hard not to go with Jordan Mason. I think that matchup's good for him in a lot of ways. I think he'll be fine. He's going to be heavily used. James Conner might be the other guy that I'm looking into. Bengals do pretty decent against the run, but we got to see what happened last week with Ramondre Stevenson. I like the game a little bit more for James Conner, and no Aaron Donald anymore. We saw what Monty did. He ran really well last week. I know it's a different type of line, but yeah, I think I'm going to go with James Conner and Mason here.
I think I'm going to go with Pacheco and Mason. Mason is my lock.
Yeah, but
Pacheco is just it's a bet on the offense. I liked his usage. I like Connor's usage too, to be fair. But I just think there's going to be games where Arizona doesn't look as good as the Chiefs.
100%.
And I'm just flat out taking Pacheco. The Bengals didn't look very good. I think Pacheco can have 20 plus carries in this game, which means he probably falls into the end zone.
Okay.
Wouldn't be surprised if James Conner had a better game than Pacheco, but Jordan Mason is an absolute lock for sure against the Vikes.
Over under is pretty even for those two. Mason is the guy that I like a lot. So yeah, I'm we kind of flip flop, but it's a toss up there. For both guys. It's based on what offense you like a little more. Angie, what's going on? Great to have you on. Thank you for joining us. Are you guys feeling Jaden Reed or Rashid Shaheed in full PPR flex this week? How do you feel about this game? So we have the Saints versus the Cowboys going at 46 and a half points. I like Shaheed a little bit in this game just because he won't have Diggs. I think that Olave might get a little bit blanketed more than we want him to be. A lot of few question marks about him. I do like Jaden Reed just a smidge more. Probably a little more than a smidge. So I think I'm going to be leaning Jaden Reed here, and it's really just because they're going to have to use him everywhere. They're going to have to use him on short passes. They're going to have to use him in the backfield. They're going to have to use him everywhere. So I'm going to lean Jaden Reed here.
I think, if it's just if you have other options, I kind of want to fade them both. If you're asking the question, you probably can't, right?
Yeah.
So
Jaden Reed was drafted pretty high, round 6, 5, 6. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm probably going Reed. I'll tell you, if his injury leaves him more follow his injury, if it looks like it's kind of like a legitimately questionable thing, Green Bay has absolutely no reason to risk any more than they have to. They have got a lot of, they can get Wicks out there and they can just rest him up a little bit. They can give him an extremely low snap share, spell him quite a bit. So if it's leaning that direction, I would take Shaheed as Jaden Reed doesn't have to play the game. Jaden Reed could be out in the second snap. That's a risk I probably want to avoid, given he's probably not going to have a great game that's out of his range of outcomes.
Yeah, it's low expectations.
At least Shaheed has the ability to get you a 15-point type of game. It's a condensed offense. He looked good in that deep shot. If I have to start one, I'm going Shaheed, but it's only because the range of outcomes for Jaden Reed can go negative to actual goose egg, and I don't think he has any upside with the backup quarterback.
Okay, fair enough. Reed for me, and
I think in general, to answer the question though, I think our answer is no. But if you have to, we'll give you some bonus content. But are you with me? If you have a serviceable upside flex, are you going with it? Would
probably.
You go I'd go Ladd over both of them. I'd go with that type of player.
Yeah, I'd go with a solid.
I'd go Josh Palmer over both of them if that starts to lean in that range.
Yeah, I probably would, but I think in that scenario, I think you have no choice, and I think Reed is the higher upside, just because he has that ability.
Yeah, if he's healthy, I'm with you. If it looks like it's no problem and it was just a little questionable thing, then yeah.
So we got RGQ. What's going on, man? He goes, thoughts on this trade? Half PPR, Michael Pittman and Floyd.
Jerome
Ford. Yeah, it's getting late, boys and girls. So Michael Pittman and Jerome Ford for Mike Evans and Ladd McConkey. The Evans owner has no backup running back. He's starting Mixon and Singletary. I need an upgraded wide receiver. Okay. He says, should I have traded Najee instead of Ford? If he was cool with Najee, I would have done that. I probably would have done Najee over Ford.
You would have rather kept Ford than kept Najee, is that right?
Correct.
I think it's so close for me. It's like it's already done, so I'm not going to give you more anxiety. It's like I'm splitting super hairs there. So honestly, flip a
100%.
coin. It's not. If it was a little bit farther off in value, I would say something. But no, I think you're fine getting it done how you could have. You might not have been able to get that trade done, to be honest.
So in this case,
I like the trade though.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, he's going Najee versus Denver or Ford versus Jacksonville.
I like Ford versus Jacksonville.
Me too.
The passing work is pretty fantastic.
They're going to involve him.
And Najee's workload is probably going to scale down just a little bit. I liked his usage in week 1, but I think the upside for him is a little bit lower than I would have liked. But they're both pretty similar.
Next couple of weeks, we're going to see Jalen Warren get a little bit ramped up more because of his, they probably held him back for the injury a little bit. So
yeah, if Fields sticks around for a little bit too, I mean that lowers some upside there. The real thing, you won the trade though. I'll throw you that. I mean, like Evans, I think 100%. Is in line for an elite season. I think Ladd is going to get better and better and better. Remember, the Chargers are not going to be in positive game scripts the rest of the year, and when they're in more negative ones, I think you're going to see Ladd really ball out and look like Godwin light.
Yeah, for sure. So we have Chris Schmidt in the house. What's going on, man? He goes, great show. Thanks, man. We appreciate that. Thank you in advance for any help here. I'm in a league, start 2 wide receivers and has 2 flex. Okay. He's weak at running back. What 4 wide receivers am I starting? Marvin Harrison
I read this
Jr.
one earlier. I want to see what you think.
Okay. So Marvin Harrison Jr., DK Metcalf, Jaden Reed, Nico Collins, Diggs, J-Mo. Okay. So I like J-Mo. I like
great team,
Nico.
by the way.
Huh?
That's a great team, by the way.
Fantastic.
Well done.
Great way to have an abundance of riches here. Nico Collins, I'm definitely starting here. I do like. Well, actually, you know what? I might switch that. I'm gonna go to Diggs and J-Mo and DK.
One more.
I don't like playing 2 wide receivers on the same team. I'm gonna go Marvin Harrison, and I think it's more because I feel like they might do try to get him more involved. They saw the tape and go, why aren't we getting this guy involved? Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison, DK, Diggs, and J-Mo. And it's really just because of my take before on Jalen Johnson.
I hear you. I would agree, except I'm gonna bench Marvin. I'm gonna take Nico and Diggs, even though I'm like game script wise, that's against it. Here's why. The worst thing that happens is that Marv balls out on your bench.
Yeah,
you're gonna be so happy. I don't care if he balls out in your lineup or in your bench. The fact is, if he balls out, the rest of your season looks a lot brighter. What I can't live with is if I give him the chance and Nico and Diggs both put up a good game, and I started Marvin Harrison, he does this again. I don't have enough beer in my fridge.
Okay? Yeah, there you go.
It's not going to be okay.
Okay, fair enough. So we got George Play in the house. What's going on, George? Great to have you back. He goes, hey, guys, should I trade Brian Robinson and Jalen Waddle for Nico Collins and Jaden Reed? This is non-PPR. I
would. Waddle. I mean, if you can get it done. I mean, I do not. Waddle has major red flags for me.
Yeah, me too. If you're getting rid of Waddle and you're getting Nico, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think I would do that.
I mean, Jaden's gonna give him a week or 2, and he's gonna be elite. Nico already is elite.
Yeah,
you just don't have a ceiling with B-Rob and Jalen. Like 100%. Even if B-Rob and Jalen like have
the non-PPR option, but it's the touchdown.
You're not winning your league with that anymore. You can win your league with Nico and Jaden. Like Jaden is like the definition of a league winner. Nico is just great. Jaden better value, but yeah.
So he says his running backs are Barkley, Gibbs, Mason, Javonte, Trey Benson, Corum, and Irving.
Barkley and Gibbs, nice.
Yeah,
Mason.
I mean, yeah, you have a pretty solid running back group.
Yeah,
So if you
dude.
can get that trade through, go for it. He's got Moore, Flowers, Mitchell, Thompson. Yeah, I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Definitely do that. So we're going to go to Captain Joking. What's going on, man? He goes, huge fan of the show. Thanks, man. We really appreciate it. This is our first time together, and we really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying it now. He goes, he's already a sub. Quick question. I'm a buffoon. Wait. Yeah, I am a
Oh, you
buffoon for one.
You're like, did you read that right?
I have to read it right. Hold on. Am I a buffoon for wanting to start Worthy over Adams and Malik Neighbors? I'm not going to call you a buffoon.
No,
but what I'm going to
no,
do
either.
is I'm going to tell you that you should really think about that decision.
Is this PPR?
If it was full PPR, it's the wrong decision. If it's a non-PPR, I would be a little bit more on board. You got to remember that Xavier Worthy had 3 catches on 3 targets. You're going to get Devontae Adams. Yes, he has Gardner Minshew. He's not as good. And of course, Neighbors having Jones. We all know. It's not the worst move I've seen, but I really would prefer to play a guy like Devontae Adams, who is in a better, he's a better wide receiver overall.
Yeah, by like a lot.
By far.
I mean, he's a look at his past 4 years of wide receiver finishes. Even in this awful situation, I am starting Adams and Neighbors over Worthy. If it was straight up standard, not even in half PPR, I don't think it's particularly close.
Yeah.
Like Worthy's a guy that like there's going to be the game when he goes off. Okay, you're going to wish you had him, but I mean, there's going to be games where he puts up 3 points. It's going to happen
for sure.
Adams had a down game. He's going to have better days, even in a bad offense. It's Devontae Adams. He's the squeakiest wheel on that team. He doesn't want to.
He will.
You don't piss off Devontae Adams. Okay, you don't do that. And Neighbors in a much more plus matchup for him. In what can be absolutely maybe not a full get right game for Daniel Jones, because I mean that ship has sailed, but more palatable. Yeah, I'm taking both of those guys over Worthy. I like where your head's at. I mean, your head's like, hey, I want to go for the win. I don't want to go with safe plays. Points. Right, don't chase it just yet. You got to give it a few more weeks, and then we can start thinking about it. But process-wise, don't be doing that. Look at Travis Kelce's usage as well. Do you really think Travis Kelce is going to go 3 catches every single week? I doubt it. Now, we do think Rashee Rice is probably going to go for 8 catches and 100 yards most weeks, but get 100%. Kelce more involved in that game. There's not going to be enough in what I don't think is going to be the most competitive game of all time just yet, with T mostly out and the running game just kind of being a little bit mid and the Chiefs defense being fantastic. You add all these factors up, Worthy is just not going to need to do what he needed to do. They were playing the Ravens in what could be a near Super Bowl preview. This next game is not going to be of that stakes.
So we got to rattle through these a little bit quicker than we normally would. So I apologize in advance. So these might be a little bit more, very quick. So we got CJ Stroud or Jaden Daniels this week. Who do you like?
I'm going to take this. Wow, that's close. CJ is just too safe. I'm going to take him. I need to see more of Daniels before I'm willing to go that far.
100%. I like CJ as well. So next is, should I trade CMC for Drake London and Rashid Shaheed? If you need wide receivers, yes. But if not,
get more. Flip Shaheed for something else. Shaheed could be on the waiver at some point. And if it's just CMC for London, I'm not there yet. Rework the trade a little bit more. This exact trade is a no for me, but you're close. The idea is right. Flip Shaheed for something more useful.
Yeah, 100%. I would wait, but I understand why. Don't freak out too much. I know the conversation about him going to the IR got everybody swirling. Just hold tight real quick. Sober Money, what's going on, brother? He goes, hello. In Dynasty, would y'all trade TJ Hawkinson, Polk, a 25-second for Flowers, Dobbins, Judy? This is Dynasty Superflex, tight end premium, and full PPR.
Absolutely wouldn't do it. I would keep the Hawk side.
Yeah, I'm sticking with what you currently have. I would not do that either. Nino, what's going on, man? He goes, hey, guys, needing to start 2 at the flex. Scary Terry versus the Giants. B-Rob versus the Giants, of course, versus the Giants. Devontae versus Baltimore, or Pickens versus Denver. For me, I'm going to be going with Terry and B-Rob. Actually, yeah, I'm going to go Terry versus and B-Rob, and I hate playing two guys on the same team.
I'm going to go Terry and Devontae.
Okay. Right. Let me see. Next up, we have. Wait. Sorry, I'm scrolling here. We got a lot of questions. So we have Ken C in the house. What's going on, Ken C? I hope if you are new to the show, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. He goes, are you holding on to any of the Miami running backs other than A-Chain?
And redraft, absolutely not.
Yeah, redraft. The only person that I would hold in redraft is Raheem Mostert. He's the only guy I would hold. Everybody else, you can pretty much, if you need the drop. You know, Jalen Wright didn't show me anything. He's more down the line. Dynasty, you're holding on to him, of course. Sober Money.
Oh, wait, we got super chat.
Oh, a super chat. What's going on, man? So he goes, should I try to move off Harrison Jr. or let it ride? I think you're holding on, bro. You cannot let go of a guy of his talent. We saw this. You got to remember also, this is preseason week 4. They might get a week or 2 off before they come to this game, but that's the other part of it too. You got to remember it's been a couple weeks. They're trying to get him involved a little more. Yeah, they only passed to him once and whatever, and he was wide open on the pass. They're going to look at this last game versus the Bills, and they're going to go, oh crap, we need to get this guy the ball more. It's going to happen. Just
from
give
a trade theory perspective, if you're the one initiating the trade, if the other person's even a little bit sharp, they're going to know that. I mean, you're not negotiating from place of strength. You have to hold. If you hold for even 2 or 3 more weeks, you're going to get more value. You got to stomach it in order to get the deal that you want. If you want to move off in 2 or 3 weeks, fine, but you absolutely should not now. It's just a philosophical mistake. You're negotiating from too much of a place of weakness.
Yeah. So, Alex, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your contribution. Thank you so much.
And Alex, I'm with you. I own him in a lot of places.
Me
so
too.
me and you, we're going to ride this out together, man. All right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. Don't worry. Hold on.
If I do make a trade, though, you'll see it in the show.
Yeah, for sure. Silver Money goes, also got a trade in Dynasty. This is full PPR. Going for James Conner and Kyron Williams for Gibbs. Interesting. How do you feel about that trade?
Gibbs.
You want Gibbs, you're giving up James Conner and Kyron.
It's Dynasty. Wait, he's
Dynasty
getting
PPR.
Kyron, and he's getting Kyron, right? And Connor.
No, it says he's James Conner and Kyron for Gibbs.
Oh, he's getting Gibbs. I like the Gibbs side.
Yeah, I'm kind of more on the Gibbs side here. James Conner has 1 more year. He's a free agent next season. He's 29 years old. Him getting a contract, maybe, but it's going to be a prove it. Yeah, I'm going to lean the Gibbs side here.
3-year window, unless you absolutely are going to win your league this year. We don't know what the Cardinals will look like by end of year if that becomes a little more kind of even keel. Gibbs is the future. At worst, he's still fantastic right now. And Monty gets a little bit older and moves on. Gibbs is CMC light. I like the Gibbs side long term.
Yeah, for sure. Next we have Joe Ortiz. What's going on, Joe? He goes Isaiah Pacheco or Dobbins this week. I'm gonna go Pacheco. If you guys ever have questions, make sure you guys check out our rankings as well. It's on the GetRightFF.com. It's on our website. We have our rankings up every week. Make sure you guys check it out. I have Isaiah Pacheco at 6 this week. I have JK at 17. I do think that Dobbins could have a great game, but Pacheco is that guy. He's going against Cincinnati. I think he'll do just fine.
Right move. Pacheco's just too safe. Dobbins could be fantastic if he doesn't rip off a 60-yarder. He could just have an okay week. Pacheco is just clearly the better play.
Yeah. So right now, we're gonna give you guys a quick little thing that we're gonna do. We're gonna be just going over a DFS lineup that we both have set. We both use FanDuel, and we are going to be using the numbers from that particular that particular site. So just be aware of that ahead of time. Every site is different. We're going to be rolling right up next. We're going to be backed up right to Rasta and Phil, who are going to have their show right after us. So don't worry. They're going to be coming on in a minute. They're just having some, tech stuff, but we're going to do our
They're
thing.
doing
And then
shots in the back.
Yeah, no, they're definitely doing shots. Anyway, so we're gonna reveal our teams because me and Kendall did this on our own. We do not know who each other has, and we're gonna basically rattle off what we have against each other and see how see if we like it. So, Kendall, why don't you tell us your team?
All right. So entered this into a semi-large field. I'm doing a lot of the 1 through 100 players. This is a 100-player tournament I'm entering this in. I'm riding the hot hand with Baker Mayfield at quarterback at the highest over-under of the week over at 7,400. I am fading Zach Charbonnet as my everyone's going to own him. I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm actually going to go up the chalky play and go Jonathan Taylor at 8,200 paying up. I see him ripping off 2 touchdowns. Jordan Mason is my 100% chalk at 5,500. He's how I'm affording my other expensive players, and I still think he puts up a great game. Wide receiver going heavy. Wide receiver 1, I'm going with Cooper Kupp at 7,700, my league winner, my favorite league winner of the year, taking a victory lap on that. I got Garrett Wilson with a get right game.
Hey.
He's gonna smash. I really like him. Paid up for him at 8,100. It's pricey, but I think he still smashes. And then as much as I wanted to pair Evans with Baker, I had to make some concessions, make some room in the budget. So I'm going with Chris Godwin to parlay with my other bet at 6,200. At tight end, saving a little bit of money, but I still think he has elite upside. It's going to be Brock Bowers. Loved his week 1 usage in that offense at 5,300. In my flex, I'm sticking with the running back heavy approach here. I like my guys. We're going to go J.K. Dobbins at 6,800. He's probably the one I could flip for a number of players, but it just feels right. So we're going to go with it. And the defense is actually going to correlate with the J.K. Dobbins pick. I like the Chargers to absolutely manhandle their matchup. So going LA at my defense.
All right. I like it. I'm doing the same thing. So I'm in a similar tournament as well. So I'm doing things a little bit, around that. For me, I'm going to be having Kyler Murray at 8,000 as my QB. Figured, why not? Like what he has, like what he can do. In this game against the Rams, it's going to be one of the higher overall totals, at 47.5. I like it. Next, this is going to be a chalk one, and it's going to be the same as Kendall. It's going to be Jordan Mason. He's just the right price that you can make it so that everyone is. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to use him as well, so you're going to have to kind of go a little bit different in a lot of ways. Zach Charbonnet is my next guy, and it's because of cost. I mean, 6,300. I think he has a really good game against New England. And in this particular case, a lot of people are going to do that. They're going to have that Mason Charbonnet particular look here. So I might want to pivot off of this just because of that. Then I have Nico Collins. We talked a lot about that, about the Chicago Bears and in that particular game. I think he'll be used. I'm a little nervous about it, but I do like it just because of cost. I didn't want to have a ton remaining. Otherwise, I probably would have went with Tank Dell here. Then, of course, I went Cooper Kupp. I couldn't not. I agree with Kendall 110%. I think he is a league winner. I think he is absolutely great. Kendall getting used to the all function in our particular chat.
That is a lot of text.
Next is Chris Godwin for the same exact reason that you did. I mean, honestly, it's a great play. I love it. I was doing that as well. On top of that, I did Trey McBride to pair up with Kyler Murray. I want to see how this goes. I think it's going to be very interesting. He's a little expensive. It's $6,200, but he's the higher end of the low end option, if that makes any sense. Laporta and Kelsey, they're always going to be at like the 9, and then they drop it. And he is where I like it. And then at that point, I go with Jonathan Taylor as well. So another guy that me and him agreed on. I think he can have a really good game against Green Bay. I think this is going to be one of those games where he can do well. And then last but not least, I have the Houston Texans defense going against your Bears, unfortunately. It's really just because this is an elite pass rushing defense. I do think that they can have a really good game against the Bears. They shut down the run. I know they're more of a pass funnel defense, but if they can shut down that run and stop them on the outside, I think they're going to have a good game. Caleb
I'm playing a lot of Houston this week, man. I'm with you. It's a good play.
It's just one of those, I like the defense overall. I thought they did a really good job of, getting free agent acquisitions and really good pass rushers. So overall, that's my team. So we went different routes, but we kind of had the same, kind of thought process, which is nice. Me and Kendall think that way with DFS. We want to find those, really diamonds in the rough to kind of pair with those really, really good. Ooh, we got trends are going. Oops. Fading Charbs is not good.
I'll put it this way. If it was a pure cash game, if this was just heads up, 100% Charbs is in there, but it's a 100-player field. So that's why I had to pick one. It was, do I fade Mason or do I fade Charbs, just because I need to be slightly different if I'm going to get like a top 5 finish is the idea. So that's why I'm fading Charbs. If this were pure cash, I wouldn't make that play.
Okay. Fair enough. So make sure you guys are checking out our show right behind. Oh, wait. You know what? We got another question, which is fantastic. RGQ, what's going on? He goes, rest of season, half PPR. Mike Evans, Diggs, or Debo?
Evans.
Yeah, I'm going to have to lean Evans as well, man. I got to do it. Got to do Evans. Trenzer goes, play Cooper, Jags best corner out. Yeah, got to take advantage of that. Always find those little advantages and everything. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore might be out. CeeDee Lamb might be a great play. Or anybody on that particular, even Brandon Cooks might be a good, I think a lot of people are going to be streaming the Chargers. I think that's why I went to Houston, to be fair. Joe, we kind of already answered this.
We both went CJ.
I like CJ. I know the floor is high and you're going against the Giants, weak defense, all that. But Giants had a couple of plays in that game against Sam Darnold that were just a hair, and it was going the other way. So defense is pretty solid. If they're not on the field for the whole game, I think they'll be okay. We usually play the Commanders a little tighter. So I do think we can do okay here. I think the game plan will be contain Jaden and, make him pass, to beat you. We got Awesome Eckler in the house. What's going on, man? Great to have you here. He goes, Patriots D or Seattle's D. So
Seattle.
Yeah, I got to lean Seattle.
They're just a better unit straight up, even if you think the matchup could be interesting. I think they're going to be turnover machines too. Really, really good defensive coaching that's underrated on Seattle. I think they were one that we got a little bit wrong in the offseason where we thought they weren't going to be good, and I think that defense is pretty real.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the defense is solid. I like the middle of their particular defense. Their defensive line is pretty good. I mean, Jaden Reed not Jaden Reed. His name is Reed, but he is a solid D tackle. I mean, the game, they only let up 20 points in the last game, which is against Denver. Not a great offensive team. Bo Nix being a rookie, I think a lot of people went that way last week. Seattle, not a bad defense. So I'm going to go with Seattle too. If, price wise, they might be a little high though. Oh, DFS, if you're thinking about it. If it's for regular, just redraft, whatever purposes, then yeah, definitely go Seattle. I think like I said, I'm using Houston everywhere. So Houston's my defense anyway. Make sure you guys are stay tuned for part 2. They're going to be moving right over to Phil and Rasta, giving us a break from that 2 hours. We really do appreciate everybody that came in. Thank you so much for everybody. For Alex for contributing, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your time. So thank you. And, I hope everybody that has come in, if you guys are new to the show, make sure you guys are subbed. Also, make sure, hold on, we get more stuff. Oh, no problem, man. Oh, hold on. He goes, RGQ, he goes, is Nick Chubb coming back this year? I think he is.
They need him. We'll see if he pulls a J.K. Dobbins. I don't think he can. He's a few years older than J.K. Dobbins, but he'll be back.
Okay, fair enough. Alex go. So we got Alex Duchamp. I'm butchering your name. I'm just going to call you Alex. He goes, am I dumb enough to start dumb enough to start thinking about selling off CMC, or is this injury singing to not worry about, or something to not worry about? Full PPR. Okay, I'm going to give my take on this and leave it at that. I think he's going to the IR. I think he's going to be out for 4 games. But I will tell you this: I do think that this lingers longer. Calf injuries, calf sprains, and especially tendonitis in any shape, way, or form, I don't care where it is something that when it flares up, it can be something that can be very hard to handle. And especially in an Achilles area for a running back is very worrisome. If you're going to sell him, you're going to have, you want to sell at least as high as you can. But I think you're selling at his floor where you probably aren't going to get what you're looking for or what he's worth. So I don't really want to. I think you're just holding on to him, keeping him on your IR. But I'm going to tell you this season is probably shot. I think you should have, if this is redraft, you should have drafted Jordan Mason. That was key. I did. And everywhere I drafted him. I was very unsure about CMC coming in. I was very low on him in general. I did not like him as the 101. I think you could have went with anybody else, and I think you would have been better off. So
if you're going to sell him, it's about winning your league, not being okay, right? If you're selling him, sell it for some ridiculous upside. I would rather sell him for a big swing because you could hit, but don't just sell him for like, I need to get off of him. I'm just going to get something. I hope that makes sense, right? If you sell him, your chance to win your league is he comes back and he's old CMC. Yeah, if you're going to parlay that away, you need something that can win your league, whatever that is. You listen to us enough, we're probably going to talk about some buy lows, listen to all the shows. There's going to be plenty of that. So maybe wait, listen to a couple of those things. We're going to have a lot of targets to kind of go after that are some buy lows. Just don't sell mediocrely. Even if it's just reasonable production, that's not going to win. You can't replace that with medium production and win your league. So make it upside.
100%. Play. Now, Alex, just so you know, he goes, thanks, guys. Harrison Jr. advice. Thanks for the Harris Jr. advice. I have Ken Walker as a running back now, and he's hurt. But I have no Charbonnet. Oh, that sucks. You think that Aaron Jones is a viable RB1 this week? I'm sorry, I don't. He's going against San Francisco. San Francisco is probably one of the best run. You know, they're good anywhere. But one thing they're really good at is stopping the run. I'm not
rest
a big
of season.
fan.
Yes, he's got a rough matchup. He does catch some passes though, and thank God his QB play looks so much better than we could have ever imagined. So his rest of season outlook is good. It might be a rough week 2 though, but there's not much you can do about it. No. I like him. I think he's going to be he's going to be similar to James Conner for the rest of the season, but he has less competition behind him.
Yeah, and I think that you can definitely play him this week, but I would just lower your expectations to be quite fair. I think he is somebody that they're going to involve Ty Chandler. And I think that Ty Chandler might be a little bit more. I think he's going to be a little bit more involved in this game just because of his size and his speed and his ability to catch the ball. I know Aaron Jones can catch it too. I'm not mistaken. But if you're going D-line against O-line, San Francisco's D-line will destroy that Minnesota line and make it. They're gonna force Sam Darnold to throw. That's what's going to happen. They're going to put as many as they can in the box because they know that, they're not going to be like the Giants. They're not going to look anything like they did against the Giants. I'm sorry. They look like the 49ers. They look like the 49ers against the Giants. They will. I mean,
Walker hurt, but I think Walker is not really at risk of missing more than just this week. I mean, maybe. You think two?
At least 2.
You think 2?
Yeah.
Well,
he's
the
had
team
issues.
does have Zach Charbonnet behind him, so you draft Zach Charbonnet, so this can kind of happen.
Yeah, it's a good play. You did great with the concept that you have Charbonnet. I do think it might be more than a game. I mean, he was doubtful, so doubtful meant he might be able to play. It's like a 0 to 5 chance, 5% chance he's playing. But my whole thought process is he's had oblique injuries in the past, so that it could definitely hurt him long term. So I would be wary and plan for at least 2 weeks, even though he might be available next week. But I would definitely think about it, moving forward. Definitely, work that waiver wire. It's a new week, man.
Drop your roster in our sleeper channel, and
Yeah.
all of us we'll workshop this a little bit. We appreciate the super chat in such a big way, dude. We got you. Hit us
100%.
up in sleeper. We're gonna workshop this a little bit since we have to probably get moving here, but we want to make sure
in a minute. I'm still waiting for the okay for Rasta, and he has told me nothing yet. So I'm waiting on him.
Oh, all right.
He's having a little bit of technical difficulties. This happens, and it's normal. So we're gonna kind of just wait it out until they get their show started. But in this case, we really do appreciate it. Yes, definitely check out our sleeper channel. It is in the description. We have a private sleeper channel. Essentially, it's like Discord, but it's in sleeper. So check us out. We have a wonderful community in there, not just myself, Kendall, Phil, Rasta, and a whole huge community of wonderful people. Tycoon's in there as well, very responsive, and just wonderful people that are just degenerates like we are. And
when you message
everything.
us with like legitimate questions, you guys have to know we've got
100%.
like a group text that's just like 24/7 us talking about if you're like user submitted trades. What you guys don't know is we're like workshopping some of these for like hours because we're total degenerates. So if you drop stuff in the sleeper channel, like we can't help ourselves. We'll
talk about it for a good hour, and then we'll be like, this is what you
absolutely.
So don't worry, just let us know, get into that, and it's free. That's and it's a great community. So make sure you guys are checking that out. We got Byron. What's going on, man? He says, is the hype around Lazard warranted? I picked him up off waivers this morning and risking starting him over Olave.
No.
Okay, bro.
No, man.
Don't. Okay. I understand the reasoning for it. I'm cool with it, holding him on your bench. He had a great game because, yes, he had his buddy Rodgers, who he's played with. He had the one touchdown with Rodgers. The end of the game was a garbage time touchdown. That means nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing. They're going to ramp up Mike Williams soon, and he's going to be a forethought until he gets hurt, of course. But it's good to see his usage. I'm just holding on to him. Chris Olave, that was a fluke. And
a lot of touchdown was a fluke too, man.
That too. Was a fluke. Yeah. But at the end of the day, man, honestly, Olave is going to be a lot more used. I think they're going to look at the game tape and go, holy crap, we didn't get to use Olave. I think we're going to use him today. Because this game against the Cowboys is going to be a lot different than the game against the Panthers. Panthers, they went up and they just went, hey, I'm going to throw it to this guy and this guy and this guy. Didn't really have to use Olave. This game, they're going to have to use him. They're going to be in negative game script throughout the game. He's going to be used. They
did force feed Olave in negative game scripts sometimes last year too. He was the absolute like fourth quarter. He's just running 20-yard bombs and they're making it happen. Wait and see. I like him as a pickup. If Mike Williams, falls in the end zone 100%. And never gets back up, now we're talking. But again, Mike Williams was barely used in that game. So we have to look at the pieces around him. He got a lot more snaps than he might otherwise. Again, I don't think Malachi Corley is going to get super involved right away, but there's like Xavier Gibson is on the team too. I need to give it a few more weeks before I'm going to trust. I'll look at his snap share in week 2 before I'm starting him, but definitely not over Olave for sure.
Okay, and he said his wide receiver core is Collins, Olave, Pickens, and Higgins, and now Lazard, full PPR. That's not a bad group of guys. I'm still playing Collins and Olave if it's 2. Unfortunately, playing Pickens if it's 3.
Pickens is still nice. Pickens had a very good game. It just didn't look fancy on a stat sheet, but I mean, he had elite usage. His ceiling might be a little bit low. Pickens is definitely the wide receiver 3 in that particular setup, but like I think that was his floor game last week, if I'm being real.
Yeah, for sure. So Rendon Die, what's going on, man? He goes. Okay, so Rasta, we're going to answer these last 2 and then we're going to send everybody your way. Don't you worry. So he goes, I'm going to be 0-2. I played A-Chain this week. Oh, no. He goes, should I be making trades? I have Josh Allen, CMC, ETN, Olave, Neighbors, McBride, Amari Cooper, Kirk, and Deontay Johnson. Full PPR 10 team. I need help.
Nope.
Oh no, loser losing the league. Where's the dress? Nice.
We'll get you a get right dress. Don't you worry about
there
it.
You go.
No, at least for me, me, you might want to at some point, But I mean, no one's going to give you the right value with such a limited sample size. ETN's value is going to be in the tank after that. CMC,
Yeah.
same. Allen is going to have better days. Neighbors is going to have amazingly better days. McBride's underlying usage was elite. He just didn't get on the stat sheet. I mean, the Browns look broken, but Amari Cooper was still the one there. I mean, Deontay Johnson and
Still
Kirk
had 8
real
targets and 9
issues, but
targets.
you just have to hold because you're going to get pennies for them, right? Now, keep an eye next week. There are some guys I might look to buy a little bit cheap, but the guys that we want to buy cheap are still longer term projects, and I don't know if you might be able to massage something for them, but I don't even think you have the assets to go and get like a Keon Coleman, which I would try to.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. I don't think you have enough tradable assets just yet. Like they will be. You need your team to have a couple of those guys have some good weeks, and then you can think about flipping them. But I think you're not. Don't yet. Hold for at least a week or two. What do you think, Classic? You with me on this?
Yeah, definitely hold. There's no point in trying to trade off what you have. It's 2 weeks. It's understood that you're probably behind this week with A-Chain, but it doesn't mean that you're going to fall behind too far. If the CMC part, I get you only really have ETN. You're probably going to have to find a running back off waivers. Hopefully, you found somebody that is viable for that, or you have somebody on your bench that can fill in for the meantime. But at this point, I'm pretty much just holding until further notice. You're not going to get anything that you're looking for that you definitely deserve.
Look, in a 10 team as well, the waiver wire is going to be pretty rich. Right. So you're just going to have to take a lot of aggressive shots, particularly you look a little bit weaker at running back. So I think you need to be thinking a week ahead at running back. Anybody who has a slight limp, pick up their backup when they're fine and healthy, hold them for an extra week in case they re-injure it. You're going to have to play that.
He has Mason.
1,000 IQ play.
So you have Mason.
That changes things.
That's a great thing.
Looks much better with Mason.
Yeah. Mason makes that team look 100 times better. So you did the right thing. You were smart doing what you did. So I think you're going to do just fine. Just hold steady. You got some time.
Give it another couple on the waiver wire wide receiver. Then I like guys like Polk, who could all of a sudden become a one. I'm taking aggressive shots at some wide receivers that could emerge in a pretty big fashion, and just take some more aggressive shots because you're probably going to need a more consistent start above Deontay Johnson. And I think Kirk is probably going to slip a little bit into the season, but everything else looks fantastic.
Last but not least, we're going to, we have 2 more questions left, and then I'm going to tell you guys to jump over to part 2. They're going on right now. They're probably just getting through the beginning of everything in reads, but make sure you guys, if you guys want to continue to listen to us and listen to the show, make sure you guys jump over to Rasta and Phil. They're going to be doing the rest of the slate for these games. So Brad goes Rashad Kittle for Kamara, likely Charbonnet, full PPR. I have the right side player, so I'm assuming
he has likely Charbonnet and Kamara.
Yeah.
Away. I would actually. It's close. I would.
I think I'm holding unless, if likely is your only tight end, then maybe, but you have a good group of running backs. I don't know how much I would want to give that away.
It's close. It's really personal.
It's close though.
If your waiver wire has a target on it that I like, I would do it.
Yeah. So Y Prime goes, I don't know if you guys answered this question earlier or not, but would you trade DK and Zamir White for Marvin Harrison Jr.? I'm good at running backs. My wide receiver 2 is Metcalf. I might.
I wouldn't do it yet, personally.
It's tough to do now. Yeah, trades now suck because it's so hard to kind of get an idea because it's only been 1 week. I wait until like week 4 because then I have a better.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're holding now, but it's not a horrible trade.
Ask Rasta though. I want to see what he says.
Yeah, ask on Rasta's. On the show right after us. They'll definitely get. Wait, if you're watching here, you should redirect them to the. I am. This is new to us. This is our first time doing this, guys. He goes, would you trade DK and Zamir for Mike Evans?
Yeah.
Yes. We know what he's like. So, all right, boys and girls, make sure. He goes, I've already answered that. Of course, I said, yes, go get MJ. Okay. I'm on the other side of it. I think hold, but we'll see.
It'd be a fun ride to take, man.
It would be. It would be.
I mean, when you're right big.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, Frankie goes, HN was solid after an injury. He did very well. Yeah, I'm very upset because it ruins my take. Anyway, so for everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Alex, thank you for your contribution to the channel. We really do appreciate it more than you know. For everybody here, thank you so much. Kendall, wonderful night, man. I had a wonderful time.
Good hanging with you, bro.
Always a pleasure. I wish I had a beer to cheers. We're gonna do that next week. But I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the night. Make sure, like I said, like 10 times already, go to the next show. We are going to be, Ruskin and Phil are already starting up. They'll take you on until the end of the night. They're going to go through all of the rest of the games. So make sure you guys check them out. Thanks, man. We really do appreciate it. So, hey, man, good luck to everybody in their week 2 matchup, except against me if you're facing me. Oh, you're waiting? It said that you guys popped up. Get out of here. Everybody get out. No, I'm kidding. So for everybody for the Get Right Fantasy Network, make sure you guys go to the next channel. Go see Phil. Go see Rasta. For Frank, for Dustin, for good old Tycoon, Kendall, my partner in crime tonight. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their night. We will see you on Sunday morning. I will be here at 11 a.m. to get you guys with your actives and inactives. So come back on Sunday and I'll help you out with any last minute decisions. So hope everyone has a wonderful night. We'll see you later. Peace.
Wanted to white fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided.